Good morning. You're listening to Aftermath Radio. I'm Marcus Reed, and with me is Elena Shaw. It's 6:42 a.m. Eastern Time on September 17th, 2025. And if you're tuning in right now, you probably already know something is terribly wrong. We've been getting reports for the last hour, strange reports, disturbing reports, reports that don't make sense, but that keep coming in from everywhere. Animals are attacking people, not just wild animals, all animals, pets, livestock, birds, everything, simultaneously across the entire planet. It started at approximately 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's when the first reports came in. Dogs attacking their owners, cats, horses, farm animals turning on farmers, wild animals emerging from forests and parks actively seeking humans. And it's not random. It's not isolated incidents. It's coordinated, deliberate. Every animal everywhere suddenly hostile to humans, actively hunting us. I know how this sounds. I know it sounds impossible. Sounds like science fiction, but it's happening. We're receiving thousands of reports, video footage, emergency calls. It's real, and we don't know why.
Let me be clear about what we're describing because the scale is difficult to comprehend. Every species of animal, mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, insects, everything, has simultaneously become hostile to humans. Not to each other, just to humans. Dogs aren't attacking cats. Lions aren't attacking zebras. Predator-prey relationships are unchanged. But every animal, regardless of species, is attacking humans on sight. They're actively seeking us out, hunting us, working together in ways that defy normal animal behavior. We're seeing coordinated attacks, pack behavior from species that don't normally form packs, tool use from animals that don't normally use tools, intelligence beyond normal animal capacity. It's as if every animal on Earth suddenly gained enhanced intelligence and a singular purpose: eliminate humans. I'm a biologist. I've studied animal behavior for 15 years. This is impossible by every measure of normal biology. Animal behavior doesn't change instantly, doesn't coordinate globally, doesn't transcend species boundaries, but it's happening. We're watching it happen. We're receiving reports from every continent, every country, every city. It's universal, it's simultaneous, and it's catastrophic.
The immediate effects are devastating. People are barricading themselves in their homes. But many homes have pets inside. Dogs and cats that were beloved family members hours ago are now deadly threats. People are trapped with hostile animals. We're hearing emergency calls, screaming, sounds of attack. It's horrific. Others are fleeing their homes, trying to reach safety. But outside is worse. Birds are attacking, swooping down on people in coordinated flocks. Rats are emerging from sewers in massive swarms. Squirrels, raccoons, deer, anything with the ability to harm humans is doing so. Cities are particularly vulnerable. High population density means high animal density. Pigeons and rats and stray dogs and cats, all hostile, all hunting. Urban areas are becoming death traps. Rural areas are equally dangerous. Farm animals turning on farmers. Wild animals emerging from forests. Bears, wolves, coyotes, mountain lions, all hunting humans with unprecedented coordination and intelligence. Suburbs are caught in the middle. Residential pets attacking families. Wildlife moving in from nearby natural areas, insects swarming, bees, wasps, hornets attacking in massive coordinated swarms.
We're trying to understand what's happening. How is this possible? What could cause every animal to simultaneously change behavior, to suddenly become hostile and intelligent and coordinated? The theories are few and all are problematic. Theory 1, disease. Some kind of rabies-like virus that affects all species simultaneously, but rabies makes animals irrational, not intelligent, and it doesn't spread instantaneously across all species globally. Theory 2, environmental trigger. Some chemical or radiation or environmental change that affects animal brains, makes them hostile. But what could affect every animal everywhere simultaneously? Nothing we know of. Theory 3, evolutionary event. Some kind of rapid evolutionary jump triggered by unknown factors. But evolution doesn't work that way, doesn't happen instantly, doesn't coordinate across species. Theory 4, external influence. Something or someone affecting animal minds, controlling them, making them hostile. That sounds like science fiction, like alien invasion or secret government experiment, but we can't rule it out. Can't explain this by normal biology, so we're left with impossible theories for an impossible situation.
Let me share what we're hearing from people because their experiences matter. This is from Jennifer in Chicago. My dog attacked me this morning. Cooper, I've had him for 8 years. He's a golden retriever, the gentlest dog. He sleeps in my bed. He's my best friend. This morning at 5:30, he woke me up. I thought he needed to go out. I reached to pet him. He bit my hand hard, drew blood, then kept attacking, biting, snarling, eyes completely changed, cold, calculating, not my dog anymore, something else. I locked myself in the bathroom. He's outside the door right now, scratching, trying to get in. I can hear him. He's not barking, not making normal dog sounds, just systematically trying to break through, testing the door, the lock, looking for weakness. That's not dog behavior. That's intelligent problem solving. I'm bleeding. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. I can't stay in here forever, but I can't go out there. My dog, the dog I love, is trying to kill me, and he's smart enough that he might succeed.
Jennifer's experience is being replicated millions of times globally, pets attacking owners. The psychological trauma is profound. These are animals people love, animals people consider family, suddenly transformed into threats, into predators hunting the people who cared for them. That's betrayal on a visceral level. That's trauma that will persist even if we survive this. This is from Thomas in rural Montana. The wildlife came out of the forest at dawn. Deer, elk, bears, wolves, mountain lions, all of them, moving together, not like normal animal behavior, moving like an army, coordinated, purposeful. They're attacking the ranch. Killed 3 of my ranch hands already. We're barricaded in the main house, armed, shooting anything that approaches, but there are so many of them. And they're smart. They're using tactics, flanking maneuvers, feints. Some attack from one side while others approach from another. They're learning from our defenses, adapting. That's not animal intelligence. That's military strategy. We're running out of ammunition, running out of time. I don't know how long we can hold out. These aren't animals anymore. They're something else, something terrifying.
Thomas is describing what we're hearing from multiple sources. Animals using intelligence beyond their normal capacity. Problem solving, strategy, learning, adapting. That suggests something is enhancing their cognitive abilities, making them smarter, deadlier. This is from Patricia in New York City. The birds came first, pigeons, starlings, crows, thousands of them, attacking people on the streets, pecking eyes, faces, targeting vulnerable areas. Then the rats, pouring out of sewers and subways, millions of them, swarming over people, biting, overwhelming victims by sheer numbers. I'm on the 5th floor of my apartment watching from the window. The streets are chaos, people running, screaming, falling, being overwhelmed by animals. Emergency services can't respond. Ambulances attacked by flocks of birds, police cars swarmed by rats. The city is falling apart. This is Manhattan, the most densely populated place in America, and it's being overrun by animals. In hours, we're losing. Humans are losing. We're the apex predator, the dominant species, and we're being hunted to extinction by creatures we thought we controlled.
Patricia's observation about humans losing is critical. We are the apex predator. We've dominated Earth for thousands of years, controlled nature, shaped the environment to suit us, but that dominance depended on animals behaving predictably, following biological imperatives, being less intelligent than us. If animals suddenly gain intelligence and coordination and a unified purpose to eliminate humans, we lose that advantage. We're physically weaker than many animals, slower than most. We have technology and tools, but if we can't use them, if we're being attacked constantly, overwhelmed by numbers, hunted by intelligent, coordinated predators, technology doesn't help. We're vulnerable. We're prey. That's a terrifying reversal of natural order. This is from Dr. Helen Martinez, a neuroscientist. I've been studying brain scans of animals when possible, limited data, difficult conditions. But what I'm seeing is extraordinary. Animal brains are showing activity patterns consistent with higher cognitive function. The prefrontal cortex, the area associated with planning and complex thought, is lighting up in species that normally don't use that brain region. It's as if every animal brain has been upgraded, enhanced, given capabilities it didn't evolve to have. This isn't natural. This isn't disease or environmental trigger. This is modification. Someone or something has altered animal brains globally and simultaneously. That requires technology or capability beyond anything humans possess, which means either there's a secret program we don't know about, or this is external, non-human. That's the truly terrifying possibility.
Dr. Martinez is suggesting external influence, something beyond human capability affecting animal minds. That's the alien hypothesis. The idea that some non-human intelligence is behind this, it sounds absurd, but what other explanation fits? What natural phenomenon could modify billions of animal brains simultaneously? None that we know of. So we're left with the possibility that this is artificial, deliberate, an attack on humanity using Earth's animals as weapons. If that's true, we're facing an enemy we can't see. can't negotiate with, can't fight directly. We can only fight the animals, which means killing Earth's wildlife to survive. That's its own tragedy, its own horror. We're being forced to exterminate the biosphere to save ourselves. It's 7:30 a.m. now, 2 hours since this started. Let me update on what's happening globally. Major cities are in chaos. New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, all reporting massive animal attacks, casualties in the thousands already, probably tens of thousands, emergency services overwhelmed, hospitals overrun with bite and scratch victims. Many can't reach hospitals, attacked en route.
Governments are responding with military force, declaring martial law, deploying troops, but the military is also under attack. Bases have animals on them, dogs used for security, birds, rats, all hostile now. Troops are fighting on their own bases before they can deploy. Some bases have been overrun, abandoned. The military is effective when it can concentrate force, but this is a distributed threat. Animals everywhere. Small, numerous, coordinated, hard to fight with conventional weapons. You can't bomb wildlife, can't use artillery on pigeons. You need individual soldiers with firearms fighting thousands of small targets. That's not efficient. That's not scalable. The military is doing what it can, but it's not enough, not nearly enough. Transportation is collapsing. Roads are dangerous. Animals attacking vehicles, birds causing accidents by hitting windshields, deer running into traffic, rats chewing through fuel lines and brake cables. Air travel is impossible. Birds deliberately flying into engines. Planes can't take off safely. Ships at sea are relatively safe. Marine mammals aren't attacking with the same intensity, but ports are dangerous. Rats and seagulls and any land-based animals attacking ships in dock.
Communication systems are at risk. Birds are attacking cell towers, chewing through cables. Rats are doing the same to underground infrastructure. We're losing connectivity in some areas. Internet down, cell service spotty, landlines cut. That's isolating populations, making coordination impossible, making this crisis exponentially worse because we can't organize, can't share information, can't coordinate response. We're fragmented, each community fighting alone, each family barricaded separately. That's exactly what would happen if you wanted to destroy human civilization. Cut the communication, isolate the populations, let them fall separately. That's why this feels like an attack, like warfare. Like someone is deliberately dismantling human society using animals as weapons. Power grids are vulnerable. Squirrels and birds getting into transformers, causing shorts, starting fires. Some regions have lost power. More will lose it soon. Without power, we lose everything. Refrigeration, water pumping, heating and cooling, light, the infrastructure of modern life. We're being reduced to basics, to survival conditions, in hours.
Food supply is immediately critical. Most people have a few days of food in their homes, but grocery stores are inaccessible, attacked by animals, rats inside contaminating food, birds breaking in. Even if you reach a store, the food is compromised, and agriculture is collapsing. Farm animals attacking farmers, wild animals attacking crops and infrastructure. Livestock needs daily care, needs feeding and milking and management. If farmers can't reach animals, livestock dies. Even the hostile livestock, they still need care to survive. This is destroying our food production capacity. Within days, we face food shortages. Within weeks, famine, unless we solve this, unless we find a way to stop the attacks, to restore normal animal behavior. We need to understand what's happening, need to find the cause, need to reverse it, or humanity faces extinction. Not immediately, not today, but soon, within months. We can't survive without the biosphere, can't survive as a species at war with all other species. We're outnumbered billions to one. We'll lose eventually.
Scientists are working frantically to understand, but laboratories are under attack. Research animals, rats, mice, primates used in studies, all hostile, attacking researchers, destroying equipment. Labs are being evacuated. Research is stopping just when we need it most. Some scientists are continuing work in secured locations, but resources are limited. Data is limited. Time is limited. We're racing against catastrophe with handicaps at every turn. This is from Dr. Richard Chin, a researcher at a secured government facility. We've isolated several affected animals for study, dogs, rats, birds, keeping them in reinforced containment. What we're finding is extraordinary. Their brain activity suggests external influence, like signals being received, like remote control. We're detecting unusual electromagnetic patterns in their neural tissue, patterns that shouldn't be there naturally, that don't match any known biological process. This supports the theory that something is broadcasting to animals, controlling them, making them hostile. We're trying to locate the source, trying to determine what's broadcasting and from where, but the signal is subtle, distributed, not coming from a single point. It's like it's everywhere, like the planet itself is broadcasting. or something in orbit, or something we can't detect with our instruments. We're working on it, but we need time, and time is something humanity doesn't have much of.
Dr. Chen's finding of external signals is critical. If animals are being controlled remotely, we might be able to jam the signal, block it, free the animals from whatever is controlling them. That's our best hope, our only hope, really, because we can't win a war against the entire animal kingdom, but we can potentially stop whatever is causing the war. This is the research priority, finding the signal, understanding it, blocking it. Every resource should be directed toward that, every surviving scientist, every functioning laboratory. This is humanity's Manhattan Project, our Apollo program, our existential effort to survive. Let me share more reports because the situation is evolving. This is from Michael in rural Kansas. The insects came, locusts, billions of them, covering everything, getting into houses through any crack or opening. They're not eating crops. They're attacking people, biting, stinging, overwhelming by sheer numbers. My neighbor suffocated. Insects covered his face, got into his nose and mouth. He couldn't breathe, couldn't clear them away fast enough. We found him dead, face completely covered in insects. That's not normal locust behavior. They're being directed, being weaponized, and there are so many of them. We can't fight billions of insects, can't defend against them. We're sealing everything, covering ventilation, blocking every gap, turning our homes into bunkers, but they keep finding ways in. We're losing this battle.
Michael's report about insects is terrifying. Insects outnumber humans by orders of magnitude. If they're coordinating attacks, if they're targeting humans specifically, we have no defense. We can kill millions of insects, billions, but there are trillions, quadrillions maybe, more than we can ever eliminate, and they're reproducing constantly. If insects stay hostile, humanity is finished. We can't survive that, can't defend against that scale of threat. Our only hope is to stop whatever is controlling them, to break the signal, to restore normal behavior. This is from Sarah in Australia. The spiders came out, thousands of them, every species crawling out of hiding. They've been quiet, hunting us without much success. But something changed an hour ago. They started working together, building massive webs across doorways, windows, paths, trapping people, then attacking en masse, biting, injecting venom. We've had multiple deaths from spider bites in my neighborhood alone. In 2 hours, Australia has deadly spiders. We know how to avoid them, how to coexist, but not when they hunt us actively, not when they coordinate. We're not safe in our homes, not safe anywhere. They're everywhere, waiting, watching. They're patient, more patient than us. They can wait days without moving. We can't. Eventually we have to sleep, have to lower our guard, and they'll be there.
Sarah's description of spiders hunting with patience and strategy is particularly chilling, because she's right. Predators can wait. Humans can't maintain constant vigilance indefinitely. We need sleep, need rest, need to lower our defenses. And the animals know this. They're waiting us out. That's intelligent strategy. That's warfare, not animal behavior. This confirms that something is enhancing animal intelligence beyond natural capacity, making them strategic, patient, deadly. It's 9 a.m. now. 3.5 hours since this started. Casualties are estimated in the hundreds of thousands globally, maybe more. Exact numbers are impossible. Communication is breaking down, but based on population density and attack reports, we're losing people at catastrophic rates. Some estimates suggest millions dead within the first 24 hours. That's apocalyptic scale. That's species threatening. Governments are implementing emergency protocols, evacuation plans, safe zones, but execution is nearly impossible. People can't evacuate through animal-infested areas, can't reach safe zones when every route is contested. We're trapped, isolated, fighting individually for survival.
Some people are forming groups, banding together for defense. That's smart, that's survivable. Larger groups can maintain watch rotations, can defend perimeters, can share resources and skills. We're hearing reports of successful group defenses, armed communities holding off animal attacks, high-rise buildings where residents have secured the lower floors and are defending from above, underground bunkers and basements where people are sheltered. These are the success stories, the places where humans are surviving. But they're exceptions. Most people are isolated, trapped in homes with limited supplies, limited weapons, limited ability to coordinate with others. They're vulnerable. They're dying. This is from James, organizing defense in a shopping mall. We have about 300 people here evacuated from surrounding areas. The mall is defendable, single entry points, solid structure. We barricaded the entrances, set up watch. We have some weapons, hunting rifles, a few handguns. Hardware store had axes and sledgehammers. We're rationing food from the grocery store, have water from the fountains. We can survive here for weeks if we're careful. The animals test our defenses constantly. Crows and pigeons attacking windows, rats trying to get in through ventilation. A pack of dogs attacked the north entrance this morning. We drove them off, but they'll be back. They're learning our defenses, testing for weaknesses. We need to be smarter, need to stay vigilant, but we're surviving. We're organized. We're proof that humans can fight back if we work together.
James represents our best hope. Organized groups in defensible positions, that's survivable. That's how humanity persists through this. But most people can't reach these positions, can't organize, can't coordinate. They're going to die. We need to be honest about that. Need to acknowledge that most isolated individuals won't survive days, maybe hours. The only survival is in groups, in coordination, in collective defense. If you're listening and you're alone, you need to reach others, need to form groups. Risk the journey to reach defensible positions, because staying alone is death. Staying isolated is extinction. This is brutal calculus, horrible choices, but necessary for survival. Let me talk about what animals are doing, because understanding their tactics helps us defend. Birds are acting as scouts, flying overhead, observing human positions, then reporting back to ground animals. We're seeing coordinated attacks where birds provide intelligence to ground forces. That's military coordination. That's command structure. Animals are using terrain to their advantage, approaching from cover, using buildings and trees to block lines of sight, avoiding open areas where they're vulnerable. That's tactical thinking.
Animals are using distraction techniques. Small animals attack from one direction while larger predators attack from another. They're drawing fire, drawing attention, then striking from unexpected angles. That's sophisticated military doctrine. They're targeting specific humans, identifying leaders, identifying armed individuals, taking them out preferentially. That eliminates threats, eliminates coordination. That's counter-leadership targeting, advanced warfare. They're adapting to our defenses, learning what works and what doesn't. Changing tactics based on success and failure. That's learning. That's evolution in real time, but faster, more intelligent, more deadly. This isn't natural animal behavior. This is something else using animals, controlling them, making them into an army with billions of soldiers, an army that doesn't negotiate, doesn't retreat, doesn't fear death. That's the enemy we're fighting, and we're losing.
We need to talk about insects again, because they're the existential threat. Mammals and birds and reptiles are dangerous, but they're manageable in some circumstances. Insects are not. There are too many, they're too small, too numerous, too difficult to defend against. If insects remain hostile, if they coordinate attacks effectively, humanity cannot survive. We're already seeing insect swarms overwhelming defenses, getting through sealed buildings, finding every gap, every crack, every vulnerability, and when they get in, they attack en masse. Bees and wasps stinging, ants biting. Mosquitoes could spread disease deliberately. Flies contaminating food. Insects could make Earth uninhabitable for humans within weeks, not by direct killing primarily, but by making food impossible, making shelter impossible, making basic survival impossible. That's the worst case. That's extinction. Our only hope is stopping whatever controls them, breaking the signal or finding shelter they can't penetrate, deep underground maybe, sealed environment. But that's not sustainable long-term. That's not civilization. That's just survival, barely.
It's 11 a.m., 5.5 hours since this began. I need to share something difficult. Elena and I are in this studio, broadcasting from a downtown building. We've been safe so far, secure. But that's changing. We're hearing animals in the building, breaking in through ground floor windows, coming up through ventilation. We have maybe an hour before they reach this floor, maybe less. We're going to keep broadcasting as long as possible, keep providing information, keep connecting people. But we'll have to evacuate soon, have to reach safer location. There's a fortified emergency operations center 3 blocks away, government building, secure. We're going to try to reach it, continue broadcasting from there, but the route is dangerous. 3 blocks through urban environment filled with hostile animals. We might not make it. So I want to say this now, while we can. If you're listening, if you're surviving, don't give up. Humanity has survived worse, has overcome impossible odds. We're resilient, we're adaptable, we're intelligent. We can survive this if we work together, find groups, find defensible positions, ration supplies, maintain hope. Scientists are working on solutions. Military is fighting back. We're not extinct yet. We're still here, still fighting, still human. Hold on, survive. We'll get through this together.
Marcus is right. We need hope, need to believe survival is possible, but we also need realism, need to understand the situation honestly. This is an extinction-level threat. This is humanity facing potential extermination, not in centuries, not in generations, in days or weeks. If we don't solve this, if we don't find the cause and stop it, most humans will die. Maybe all humans. That's the reality. That's what we're facing. But we're not dead yet. We're still here, still thinking, still fighting, still broadcasting. As long as we're alive, there's possibility, there's chance, there's hope. So we fight, we survive, we persist. That's what humans do. We persist against impossible odds. We're the species that survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. We survived because we're adaptable, because we're intelligent, because we don't give up. We won't give up now. We'll fight, we'll survive, or we'll die trying, but we won't surrender. We won't accept extinction. We'll rage against it with everything we have. That's humanity. That's who we are. We're survivors. Let me share more reports while we can, while we're still on air.
This is from Captain Lisa Martinez, military commander at a secure base. We've established a defensive perimeter around the base, cleared animals from within the compound. We're holding for now, but attacks are constant, coordinated, intelligent. We're seeing tactics we've only seen from human enemies, probing attacks, feints, encirclement attempts. These aren't animals, or they're not just animals. They're being directed by intelligence equal to or greater than human. We've shot thousands of them, tens of thousands, but more keep coming, and they're learning from casualties, avoiding our fields of fire, using terrain we cleared. They're smarter than us in some ways, more patient, more coordinated. We're surviving on superior firepower, but ammunition is finite. Food is finite. Eventually we'll run out unless this ends, unless whatever is controlling animals stops. We need solution, need it soon. Military can hold days, maybe weeks, but not months, not indefinitely. We're buying time, time for scientists to find answers, time for humanity to adapt, but time is running out.
Captain Martinez confirms what we suspected. Military can hold temporarily, can create safe zones, but can't win long-term war of attrition against billions of enemies. We need solution, need to stop the attacks at the source. Dr. Chen's research is our best hope. Finding the signal, blocking it, freeing animals from control, that's the path to survival. That's what all resources should focus on. This is from Dr. Helen Park, working with Dr. Chen. We've made progress. We've identified the signal more clearly. It's electromagnetic, operating at a frequency we don't typically monitor. Extremely high frequency, above normal communications bands. The signal is complex, carries enormous amounts of information, instructions, commands, sensory data from animals feeding back. It's a network, a control network encompassing every animal on Earth. The bandwidth required is staggering, beyond our technology, beyond anything we've built. This is definitely external, non-human. And it's not coming from orbit, not from satellites. It's coming from everywhere, like it's embedded in the environment or in the animals themselves. Like every animal is both receiver and transmitter, creating a distributed network. That's why we can't pinpoint a source. There isn't a single source. It's everywhere, which means we can't just destroy the source, can't cut the head off the snake. We need to disrupt the entire network, block the frequency, create interference. That's theoretically possible, but requires massive power, requires equipment we don't have ready. We're working on it, building prototypes, testing interference patterns, but it takes time, days at least, maybe weeks. I don't know if we have that long.
Dr. Park is saying we need days or weeks to build a solution. That's longer than most people have. Most isolated individuals will be dead in days, maybe hours. Only organized groups in defensible positions will survive that long, which means most of humanity dies before we implement the solution. Even if it works, even if we block the signal successfully, we're looking at massive casualties, potentially billions dead. That's the horror we're facing. That's the loss we must accept. But if even a fraction survives, if we preserve humanity even in diminished form, that's success. That's what we fight for. Not to save everyone, we can't, but to save someone, to save enough, to give humanity a future beyond this catastrophe. That's the goal. That's what matters. It's 11:30 a.m. now. We're hearing animals on this floor in the hallway. We need to evacuate, need to reach the Emergency Operations Center. Elena and I are going silent temporarily. We're taking recording equipment. We'll resume broadcasting from secure location if we make it. If we don't, thank you for listening. Thank you for surviving. Keep fighting. Keep hoping. Humanity endures. We're signing off, temporarily. We'll be back. We have to be back. This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw. Survive. Please survive. We're going silent now. We're back. It's 2 p.m. Marcus Reed here with Elena Shaw. We made it to the Emergency Operations Center, barely. That was the most terrifying 3 blocks of my life. The streets are a war zone, animals everywhere, birds diving from above, dogs hunting in packs, rats in massive swarms. We ran, fought, barely made it through. Elena was injured, bird attack, scratched her face. She's getting medical attention now, but she's okay. We're okay. We're broadcasting from a secure government facility, reinforced structure, military presence, scientists working. This is a hub, a coordination point, a place where humanity is fighting back effectively. We'll continue broadcasting from here, providing updates, sharing information, connecting survivors. That's our mission, our purpose. As long as we can broadcast, we will. Let me update on the global situation because we have better information here. Access to military and scientific networks. Casualties are catastrophic. Estimated at over 100 million dead worldwide in the first 8 hours. 100 million people killed by animals. That's more than all deaths in World War II. In 8 hours, the death rate is accelerating as more people are isolated, as supplies run out, as defenses fail. Projections suggest 1 billion dead within 3 days if we don't solve this.
I'm back. Face bandaged but functional. That bird came out of nowhere. Talons aimed for my eyes. Marcus pulled me down. Saved my vision, probably. We're lucky. So many aren't. The casualties Marcus mentioned, 100 million, that's based on reported deaths. Real number is probably higher, much higher. Communication blackouts mean we're not getting reports from many areas. China, India, Indonesia, Africa, large populations with spotty communication. They're being devastated. We just don't have confirmed numbers. The global death toll is probably closer to 200 million, maybe more. A significant percentage of human population dead in hours. This is extinction event scale. This is species-threatening catastrophe. But we're not extinct yet. We're fighting, we're adapting, we're surviving. Let me share what scientists here are working on. The Signal Interference Project. They're building a device to jam the control signal, block communication between whatever is controlling animals and the animals themselves. If successful, animals revert to normal behavior. The attacks stop, humanity survives. That's the theory.
The device is massive, requires enormous power. They're using the facility's emergency generators, all of them, channeling all available power into this interference device. It's a gamble. If it works, we save humanity. If it doesn't, we've wasted time and resources and hope, but we have to try, have to attempt every possible solution. Dr. Chen is leading the effort, working around the clock with a team of engineers and physicists. They estimate 6 more hours until the device is ready. 6 hours until we test it. 6 hours until we know if this works. That's our timeline. That's our hope. Survive 6 more hours. Hold the line 6 more hours. Then we see if we can end this, if we can stop the attacks, if we can save humanity. 6 hours. That's what it comes down to. This is from General Sarah Thompson, military commander coordinating defense. We've established safe zones in multiple locations, military bases, government buildings, some civilian structures we've secured and fortified. We're evacuating people to these zones where possible, but most people can't reach them, can't travel through hostile territory. We're doing what we can, sending armed convoys, extracting high-value individuals, scientists, leaders, essential personnel, but we can't save everyone, can't evacuate millions. We're prioritizing, making terrible choices about who lives and who dies. That's the reality of this situation. We save who we can. We hold safe zones. We buy time for the scientists. That's our mission. That's all we can do.
General Thompson's candor is appreciated. She's being honest about the triage, about the impossible choices. In disaster scenarios, you can't save everyone. Resources are finite. You prioritize. You save the most people possible, the people most likely to help rebuild. That's cold calculation, but necessary. Without it, everyone dies. With it, some survive. That's the choice. Save some or save none. We choose some. We prioritize survivors with skills, with knowledge, with genetic diversity for rebuilding population. We prioritize children. They're the future. Pregnant women, young adults. We prioritize functional groups, people already organized and defending successfully. We provide them support, resources, guidance. We can't save isolated individuals, can't reach them, can't extract them safely, so they die. And we live with that, live with the guilt, with the knowledge that we could have saved them if we had infinite resources, but we don't. So we make choices, horrible, necessary choices. This is from Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw, broadcasting from a place where those choices are being made, where humanity is fighting for survival through cold calculation and desperate hope.
It's 3 p.m. now, 9.5 hours since this started. The device is progressing 3 hours until testing. Let me talk about what happens if this works. If we successfully jam the signal and animals revert to normal behavior, the attacks stop immediately. Animals become confused, disoriented, return to normal instincts and behaviors. They scatter, return to habitats, return to being animals rather than weapons. Humanity begins recovery. We emerge from shelters, from safe zones. We assess damage, count casualties, begin rebuilding. It's a long road. Infrastructure is damaged. Millions are dead. Billions of animals killed in defense. Ecosystems disrupted. Agriculture destroyed. But we survive, we rebuild, we recover. Humanity persists. That's the optimistic scenario, the one we're hoping for. But what if it doesn't work? What if the signal can't be jammed? What if the device fails or is insufficient? Then we're back to baseline, back to fighting for survival, back to the slow extinction of isolated groups running out of supplies. That's when we implement desperate measures. Retreat to the most defensible locations, underground bunkers, remote islands, Antarctic research stations. Anywhere animals are fewer or absent, we consolidate. We preserve humanity in remnants. Small populations surviving in isolation while the rest of Earth becomes animal kingdom. That's the pessimistic scenario. That's survival but not civilization.
There's a third scenario, the nightmare scenario. What if the device makes things worse? What if attempting to jam the signal triggers a response from whatever is controlling the animals? What if they escalate? What if animals become more aggressive, more coordinated, more deadly? What if insects fully mobilize? What if aquatic animals join the attack? Sharks, orcas, jellyfish, making oceans impassable, making islands unreachable, cutting off all escape routes. That's extinction. That's the end of humanity. We're gambling with that possibility. We're risking making things worse in hope of making them better, because doing nothing is death, slow death, inevitable death. So we gamble, we try, we hope the risk pays off. That's all we can do. This is from Dr. Richard Chen. The device is nearly complete. We're running final tests, checking connections, verifying power supply. We'll be ready in 2 hours, maybe less. Then we activate. Then we see what happens. I'm optimistic. The physics is sound. The engineering is solid. This should work, should disrupt the control signal effectively, should free the animals. But there's uncertainty. There's always uncertainty in experimental technology. We won't know until we try. And trying is risky. Could cause backlash. Could make things worse. But not trying is certain death. So we try, we risk, we hope. That's science. That's humanity. We take calculated risks to achieve progress. This is the most important calculated risk in human history. Survival of our species depends on it.
Dr. Chen's ready in 2 hours, 2 more hours of survival, 2 more hours of holding safe zones, 2 more hours of watching people die while we wait for hope. It's brutal. It's necessary. It's what we have. Let me share more survivor accounts because their voices matter, because bearing witness matters. This is from Rachel, barricaded in a suburban home. It's just me and my daughter now. She's 6. My husband went outside this morning to clear animals from the yard. The dog got him, our dog, the one we raised from a puppy. It killed him, tore out his throat right in front of us. My daughter watched her father die, watched our pet kill him. That's trauma that never heals. That's something no child should see, but she saw it. We all saw it. We're locked inside now, conserving food, conserving water, trying to explain to a 6-year-old why the world has gone crazy, why animals want to hurt us, why Daddy isn't coming back. I don't have answers, don't have explanations that make sense to a child or to me. We're just surviving hour by hour, hoping this ends, hoping someone fixes this, hoping we see tomorrow. That's all. That's everything.
Rachel represents millions of families trapped, traumatized, watching loved ones die, trying to explain the inexplicable to children, trying to maintain normalcy in abnormal times. They need this to end, need the attacks to stop, need to grieve and heal and rebuild. They need the next 2 hours to pass quickly, need the device to work, need hope to become reality. This is from Thomas in a high-rise building. We're on the 20th floor, secured the stairwells, elevators disabled. We have about 50 people here, office workers who were here when this started, residents from higher floors who came down seeking company. We're safe from ground animals, too high, but birds are a problem. They're attacking windows, breaking glass, getting in. We've had to seal some offices, abandon them to the birds. We're consolidating, moving to interior rooms, rationing food from the vending machines and break room. We have water from the taps, still flowing for now. We can last days, maybe a week, but not indefinitely. We're hoping this ends soon, hoping someone solves it. We're proof that high-rise defense works, that elevation provides safety. If this continues long-term, survivors should seek height, should get above the animals. That's where humanity survives, in the sky, above the threat.
Thomas identifies an important survival strategy: height, elevation. Animals can't easily reach high floors. Birds can, but they're less numerous than ground animals, less dangerous in individual terms. High-rise buildings are defensible, are survivable. That's good information. That's actionable strategy. If you're in an area with tall buildings, get high, get above the threat, secure stairwells, consolidate population, defend from above. That's survival. This is from Captain Martinez again. We lost the south perimeter an hour ago, overwhelmed by sheer numbers, thousands of animals, every species, coordinated assault. We fell back to secondary defensive line, holding there for now, but casualties are mounting. We've lost 30 soldiers, 32% of our force. We can't sustain these losses, can't hold indefinitely. We need the solution, need the scientists to succeed. We're buying them time with blood, with lives, with everything we have, but we're running out of ammunition, running out of people, running out of time. 2 hours, you said? 2 hours until the device is ready. We'll hold 2 hours. We'll hold as long as it takes, but please let it work. Please let this end. We're dying here. Humanity is dying. End it, please.
Captain Martinez is begging for this to end, for the device to work, for the attacks to stop. She's fighting the front line, watching soldiers die, watching the defensive perimeter collapse. She's giving everything. Her troops are giving everything, dying so scientists have time to work. That's heroism. That's sacrifice. That's what makes this moment both horrible and beautiful. Horrible because people are dying. Beautiful because people are choosing to die to save others, to give humanity a chance. That's the best of us, the most human thing. Sacrifice for the collective good. We honor that. We remember that. We make sure their sacrifice means something by surviving, by making the device work, by ending this. It's 4 p.m. now, 10.5 hours since this began. 1 hour until device activation, 1 hour until we attempt to save humanity. I want to talk about what we've lost because acknowledging loss matters. We've lost billions of animals killed in self-defense, killed in military operations, killed to survive. The biosphere is devastated, species reduced to fractions of their populations, ecosystems destroyed. The environmental damage is catastrophic. That's tragedy, that's loss, even though they attacked us. Even though they tried to kill us, they weren't in control. They were weapons used by something else, controlled against their will. They're victims too. We mourn them. We mourn the loss of the natural world, the loss of biodiversity, the loss of life, all life, human and animal, all victims of this event.
We've lost civilization as we knew it, lost normalcy, lost the assumption of safety, lost the dominance we took for granted, even if we survive this, even if the device works and attacks stop. We're different after this, changed, traumatized. We'll never trust animals the same way, never feel safe the same way. We'll always remember the day nature turned on us, the day the animals became enemies. That's permanent psychological change. That's species-level trauma. We'll carry it forward into whatever future we build. This is from Dr. Helen Park. We're ready. The device is complete. We're powering it up now, bringing it to full capacity. We'll activate in 30 minutes. Let the power stabilize. Let the systems reach equilibrium. Then we switch it on. Then we flood the electromagnetic spectrum with interference. Then we see if this works. I'm nervous, more nervous than I've ever been. This is the moment. This is where we find out if humanity survives or dies, if I've calculated correctly or failed, if my life's work means something or nothing. In 30 minutes we know. 30 minutes until humanity's fate is decided. I should feel pressure, feel weight of responsibility, but I just feel numb, just focused on the work, on the calculations, on making sure everything is correct. That's how I cope, by working, by doing, by not thinking about stakes, just thinking about next step, next equation, next action. 30 minutes, that's all, then we know.
Dr. Park carries the weight of humanity on her shoulders. If this fails, she'll blame herself, even though she didn't cause this, didn't create the threat. She's just trying to stop it. That's not fair, but that's how responsibility feels, how pressure manifests. We support her, we trust her, we believe in her work, and we wait. 30 minutes, that's all. Just 30 minutes until we attempt to save ourselves. This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw broadcasting from the Emergency Operations Center. We're watching the device power up, watching the scientists make final adjustments, watching humanity's last hope come online. We'll broadcast the attempt live. We'll share the results immediately, whether success or failure, whether salvation or doom. You'll know when we know. In 30 minutes, stay alive 30 minutes, hold on 30 minutes, hope 30 minutes. That's all we need. Just a little longer, just a little more survival. Then we see if we get to keep surviving, if we get to rebuild, if we get to have a future. 30 minutes, please let us have 30 minutes.
It's 4:30 p.m. time. The device is ready. Dr. Chen is at the controls. General Thompson is here. Military leadership, scientific leadership, government officials, everyone who matters, everyone who can contribute, we're all here, watching, waiting, hoping. Dr. Chen is speaking. I'm activating the device in 10 seconds. When I do, it will emit powerful electromagnetic interference across the frequency band we identified. If our calculations are correct, this will disrupt the control signal. We'll sever the connection between the controlling intelligence and the animals. They'll revert to normal behavior. The attacks will stop. If we're wrong, I don't know what happens. Maybe nothing. Maybe escalation. We're about to find out. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Activating now. The device hums, vibrates. The whole building shakes slightly. Enormous power flowing through it. Electromagnetic waves flooding outward. Invisible. Undetectable to human senses, but hopefully detectable to whatever is controlling the animals. Hopefully disruptive. Hopefully effective. We wait, watching monitoring equipment, watching for changes, for any indication of success or failure.
30 seconds, nothing yet. Animals outside the facility are still attacking, still coordinated, still hostile, no change. 60 seconds, still nothing. Dr. Chen is watching instruments, adjusting settings, trying variations. The device is working, producing the interference, but is it effective? Is it reaching the animals? Is it disrupting control? We don't know. 90 seconds. Wait, something's changing. The attacks are slowing. Animals are stopping mid-assault. Looking confused, disoriented, they're shaking their heads like waking from sleep, like clearing fog. Birds are landing, stopping their diving attacks, just sitting, looking around. Dogs are stopping, sitting down, looking confused. The coordination is gone. The intelligence is gone. They're just animals again. Normal animals. Confused animals. Animals waking from nightmare. Oh my God. It's working. It's actually working. The attacks are stopping. Animals are reverting. They're becoming normal again. Dr. Chen did it. It worked. Humanity survives. We did it. We actually did it.
I'm watching monitors showing camera feeds from around the facility, around the city. Animals everywhere are stopping, becoming confused, losing the coordination, losing the hostility. They're dispersing, scattering, running away from human areas, seeking shelter, seeking normalcy. The attacks are ending. The nightmare is ending after 11 hours of hell. After hundreds of millions of deaths, after watching civilization nearly collapse, it's ending. We're surviving. We made it. Humanity made it. I'm crying. Can't help it. Elena's crying. Everyone in this room is crying, hugging, celebrating. We survived. We actually survived. This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw broadcasting from the Emergency Operations Center. The device worked. The attacks are stopping. Animals are returning to normal behavior. Humanity is safe. We won. We survived. We're going to make it. After the worst day in human history, we're going to make it. We're going to rebuild. We're going to recover. We're going to survive. That's what matters. That's everything.
Reports are coming in from safe zones around the world. Animals everywhere are reverting. The signal is blocked globally. The device's interference is propagating worldwide, disrupting the control network everywhere simultaneously. This is universal success, not just local, not just regional, global, complete. Humanity is safe everywhere. The attacks are over everywhere. We did it. We saved everyone who survived to this moment. Everyone still alive stays alive. That's success. That's victory. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Let me explain what happened from a scientific perspective, because understanding matters. The control signal was electromagnetic, operating at extremely high frequency, carrying instructions to animals through a distributed network. Each animal was both receiver and transmitter, creating a planet-wide control system. The device generated powerful interference across that frequency band, flooded the spectrum with noise, made communication impossible, severed the control link. Without instructions, animals reverted to instinctive behavior. The hostile intelligence was gone, the enhancement was gone, just normal animals remaining, confused but normal. That's what we achieved. We broke the network, we freed the animals, we saved ourselves.
Questions remain. Who or what was controlling the animals? Why? What was the purpose? Was this attack? Was this test? Was this accident? We don't know. The interference prevents us from studying the control signal further. We've blocked it, but we haven't identified the source, haven't contacted the intelligence behind it. Don't know if it's alien or terrestrial. Don't know if it's malevolent or indifferent. Don't know if it will try again. Those are questions for later, for scientists to investigate when we've recovered, when we've rebuilt. For now, we celebrate survival. We mourn the dead. We begin recovery. That's enough. That's what matters now. It's 5 p.m. 12 hours since this began. 12 hours of hell, of catastrophe, of near extinction, but we made it. We survived. We're here. We're human. We're alive. That's everything. Let me share final reports from survivors because their voices matter, because bearing witness matters. This is from Rachel and her daughter. The dog stopped, just stopped, mid-growl. Then it whimpered, looked confused, looked like our dog again. It's lying by the door now, whimpering like it's sad, like it remembers what it did. My daughter wants to pet it, wants to comfort it. I don't know if I can let her. Don't know if I can trust it, even though it's normal, even though the attack is over. How do we trust again? How do we forget what happened? I don't know, but we're alive. We survived. That's what matters now.
Rachel's question about trust is critical. How do we live with animals again? How do we keep pets? How do we coexist with nature? After this trauma, after this betrayal, how do we trust? Those are questions we'll grapple with for generations. Questions psychologists will study, questions that define our post-event civilization. We'll have to relearn trust, rebuild relationships, slowly, carefully, with new understanding that the trust can be broken, that safety can disappear, that nature can turn on us. That's loss of innocence. That's permanent change. But we'll adapt. Humans are adaptable. We'll find new ways to coexist, new balance, new relationship with nature, different from before, but functional, survivable. This is from Thomas in the High Rise. Birds are flying away, just leaving. We opened the sealed offices. They flew out, didn't attack, didn't even seem interested in us, just confused, looking for food probably, looking for normal bird things. We're safe. We made it. 50 people survived in this building. That's 50 people who wouldn't have survived alone. Community saved us. Working together saved us. That's the lesson. That's what we carry forward. Alone we die. Together we survive. That's humanity. That's our strength.
Thomas is right. Community saved survivors. Isolation killed people. That's the pattern. That's the lesson. Humanity survives through cooperation, through community, through working together. That's what saved us during the attack. That's what will rebuild civilization after. We need each other, need connection, need cooperation. This event proved that definitively, with blood, with death, with survival. Those who worked together lived. Those who isolated died. Remember that. Build on that. Create civilization that values community, that prioritizes cooperation, that understands we're stronger together. That's the legacy. That's what we learn. That's what makes this horror meaningful. This is from Captain Martinez. We held, barely, lost 40 soldiers, nearly 50% casualties, but we held, we bought the time, we gave scientists the hours they needed, and they delivered. They saved us, saved humanity. My soldiers died for that, died believing their sacrifice mattered, and it did. It mattered everything. We honor them, we remember them, we build the future they died to give us. That's our duty, that's our promise. To the fallen, to each other, to humanity. We survive, we rebuild, we never forget, never.
Captain Martinez and her soldiers are heroes. They held the line. They bought time with their lives. They're why we're here, why we survived. We honor them. We remember them. We ensure their sacrifice means something by building better future, by rebuilding stronger, by creating civilization worthy of their sacrifice. That's our responsibility, our duty, our promise to the dead. It's 6 p.m. now. 13 hours since this began. The crisis is over. The attacks have stopped. Animals are normal. Humanity is safe. We begin recovery now, begin counting the dead, begin assessing damage, begin rebuilding. It's a long road, years probably, maybe decades. Casualties are estimated at 300 million, maybe more. That's 5% of human population dead in 12 hours. That's unprecedented. That's catastrophic. That's trauma that persists for generations. Infrastructure is damaged. Agriculture is destroyed. Livestock herds are decimated. Wild animal populations are reduced by 50 to 70%. The biosphere is devastated. Recovery takes decades, centuries maybe, but we recover, we rebuild, we persist because we're human, because we survive, because we don't give up.
The world is different now. Post-attack, post-trauma, we're changed. We're careful around animals. We're vigilant. We're prepared for the impossible because we lived through the impossible. We're humbler about our place in nature, about our dominance. We learned we're vulnerable, learned we can be prey, learned that civilization is fragile. Those are hard lessons, painful lessons, but necessary lessons. They make us better, make us wiser, make us more appreciative of stability, of safety, of normalcy. We don't take those for granted anymore. We cherish them, we protect them, we build systems to maintain them. That's the silver lining. The growth from trauma, the wisdom from suffering. It doesn't justify the pain, doesn't make it worth it, but it means something came from it, something good from something horrible. That's how humans make meaning, how we survive trauma, by finding growth, by finding purpose, by building something beautiful from ashes. That's what we'll do now, build from ashes, rebuild civilization, rebuild humanity, rebuild trust, slowly, painfully, but successfully, because we must, because we can, because we're human.
This is Elena Shaw with a final scientific note. The interference device is still running, still blocking the control frequency. We'll keep it running indefinitely, until we understand the source better, until we're certain the threat is neutralized. We're building more devices, deploying them globally, creating redundancy, ensuring the control signal can never reach animals again. That's our shield, our protection, our insurance against recurrence. Scientists are studying the signal. analyzing what data we have, trying to identify the source, trying to understand the purpose. That investigation continues. That's long-term project, understanding what attacked us, why, whether it might attack again, whether similar threats exist. We've learned universe is more dangerous than we thought. That Earth isn't safe, that intelligence exists beyond human. That's terrifying, but also wondrous. We're not alone. There's other intelligence in universe. It attacked us, but it exists. That changes everything, changes how we see ourselves, how we see our place in cosmos. We're not apex intelligence, not dominant mind, just one species among many, one intelligence in universe of intelligences. That's humbling, that's perspective, that's growth.
This is Marcus Reed with Final Thoughts. Today was the worst day in human history. 300 million dead, billions of animals killed, civilization nearly destroyed. We came within hours of extinction, but we survived, we adapted, we fought back, we worked together, we solved the unsolvable, we overcame the impossible. That's humanity. That's what we're capable of when we must be, when survival demands it, when extinction threatens. We rise, we exceed, we transcend. Today proved that. Today showed what we are, not just our vulnerability, not just our fragility, but our resilience, our intelligence, our determination, our refusal to surrender, our insistence on surviving no matter what. That's beautiful. That's powerful. That's why we're here, why we persist, why we'll rebuild. We're survivors, we're fighters, we're human, and nothing, not nature, not cosmic intelligence, not impossible odds can extinguish that. We endure, we persist, we continue today, tomorrow, forever. That's humanity. That's us. That's our story. From the ashes of the worst day, we rise, we rebuild, we continue. That's what we do. That's who we are.
This is Elena Shaw and Marcus Reed signing off from Aftermath Radio. We survived. You survived. We're here together. That's everything. That's what matters. Rebuild, recover, remember the fallen, honor their sacrifice by living, by building, by creating future worthy of what was lost. Be well, be safe, be human. We're done broadcasting for today. We need rest, need to process, need to begin our own recovery, but we'll be back tomorrow. Continuing coverage, continuing connection, continuing humanity's story, because that's what we do. We tell stories, we connect, we persist until tomorrow. Stay alive, stay strong, stay human. This is Elena Shaw and Marcus Reed. We survived the day the animals attacked. We survived together and we'll rebuild together. From the Emergency Operations Center, from the heart of humanity's fight for survival, we made it. Thank you for surviving with us. Good night.
Good morning. It's 6 a.m. on September 18th, day 2. This is Marcus Reed with Elena Shaw back on Aftermath Radio. The attacks remain stopped. Animals are still behaving normally. The interference device is still functioning. Humanity is safe. Recovery has begun. It's slow, it's painful, but it's happening. Overnight, the death toll was revised. 420 million confirmed dead. That's over 5% of global population. The worst single-day death toll in human history by orders of magnitude. We're calling it the animal event. The day every animal became hostile. The day we nearly went extinct. That's our name for it. Simple, direct, accurate, the animal event. It's what we survived, what we endure, what we recover from. Overnight, emergency services began functioning again. Hospitals treating the injured, police maintaining order, fire services responding to incidents. The basics of civilization are returning slowly, but returning. That's progress. That's hope. That's the beginning of recovery.
Food supply is the immediate crisis. Grocery stores were mostly destroyed or contaminated during attacks. Rats and insects got into food supplies, made them unsafe. We're distributing military rations, emergency supplies. We have weeks of food stockpiled, but not months. Agriculture needs to restart. Farms need to be reoccupied. Livestock needs to be tended. Crops need to be planted and harvested. That's happening. Farmers are returning to fields carefully, cautiously, watching for any sign of renewed hostility. But animals remain normal, remain docile, remain non-threatening. That's encouraging. That's allowing people to resume work, to begin production, to start feeding humanity again. Water systems are being restored. Power grids are being repaired. Communication networks are coming back online. The infrastructure that sustains civilization is being rebuilt, piece by piece, system by system, day by day. That's recovery. That's what it looks like. Not dramatic, not sudden, just steady, persistent work. Rebuilding what was damaged, restoring what was broken. That's how civilizations recover. Through work, through persistence, through refusing to give up.
Psychologically, people are traumatized. Everyone lost someone. Everyone experienced terror. Everyone witnessed horror. That's universal trauma. That's species-level PTSD. We're establishing counseling services, mental health support, community support groups. People need to talk, need to process, need to share experiences and emotions. That's how we heal. not by ignoring trauma, but by acknowledging it, processing it, growing through it. That takes time, takes support, takes community. We're providing that as much as we can, as fast as we can, because mental health is as critical as physical health, because trauma untreated becomes permanent damage. We're treating it. We're addressing it. We're helping people heal. This is from Rachel, who we spoke with yesterday. We kept the dog. I didn't want to, didn't trust it, but my daughter insisted. She said it wasn't the dog's fault, said the dog was controlled, was forced, that it's a victim too. She's 6 and she understood what I couldn't. That blame doesn't help, that the dog suffered too, so we kept it. It's cautious around us now, like it's afraid, like it remembers and feels guilty. Maybe animals do feel guilt. Maybe they remember. I don't know. But we're trying to trust again, trying to rebuild the relationship. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. But we're trying. That's what my daughter taught me. Keep trying, keep loving, even after betrayal, even after horror. Keep being human.
Rachel's decision to keep the dog is brave, is healing, is the choice we all need to make, to trust again, to love again, to coexist with nature despite what happened. That's not easy. That's not comfortable, but it's necessary for healing, for moving forward, for building future where humans and animals coexist peacefully. Many people are making different choice, are getting rid of pets, are refusing to live near animals, are advocating for culling wildlife. That's understandable. That's trauma response. That's seeking safety through distance. We don't judge either choice. Both are valid. Both are ways of coping. Both are attempts to heal. People need to do what feels right, what feels safe, what allows them to function. There's no wrong answer, no right way to recover, just individual journeys through trauma, all equally valid, all deserving support. This is from Dr. Richard Chen. We're analyzing the control signal, what we can determine from the data we collected before blocking it, and we're finding extraordinary things. The signal was sophisticated beyond any human technology. The information density was immense. The encoding was elegant, beautiful even. This was created by intelligence far exceeding human, by something that understands neurology and communication and information theory at levels we're still discovering. We're learning from it, studying the fragments of signal we recorded, trying to understand the principles. It's advancing our science, our understanding. That's the silver lining. We're learning from the attack, growing our knowledge, expanding our capabilities. That doesn't justify what happened, doesn't make it worth the cost, but it means something comes from it, something that helps humanity, that advances us. That makes us better.
Dr. Chen is finding value in studying the attack, finding knowledge in catastrophe. That's the scientific mindset, learning from everything, even disaster, even trauma, even attempted extinction. The signal he's studying might lead to breakthroughs in neuroscience, in communication, in information technology, might give humanity capabilities we didn't have, might advance us decades or centuries. That's how we grow, how we progress, by learning, by studying, by understanding. Even when the teacher is hostile, even when the lesson is painful, we learn, we grow, we become more than we were. This is from General Thompson. Military is coordinating recovery operations worldwide, distributing supplies, establishing order, securing infrastructure. We're also investigating the source of the attack, searching for evidence of external intelligence, looking for traces of technology or presence beyond the signal. So far, we've found nothing. No physical evidence, no obvious source. The signals seem to come from everywhere and nowhere, like it was embedded in Earth's electromagnetic field or broadcast from beyond detection range. We're expanding search, looking in orbit, looking at near-Earth space, looking for satellites or stations or anything artificial that might have been the source, finding nothing so far. But we keep looking, keep investigating, because we need to understand, need to know if this was attack or accident, need to know if it might happen again. That investigation is priority. That understanding is critical for security, for preparedness, for ensuring this never happens again.
General Thompson is looking for the source, looking for the intelligence that attacked us. That's important. That's necessary. We need to understand what happened, why, whether it might recur. That determines how we build future, how we prepare, how we protect ourselves. If this was accident, we prepare for environmental factors, build shielding, build redundancy. If this was attack, we prepare for war, build defenses, build weapons, build deterrence. Different threats require different responses. We need to know which we're facing. The investigation continues. Results aren't immediate, might take months or years, but it happens. Scientists and military working together, searching for answers, searching for understanding, searching for security. That's what we do now. Search and rebuild and recover. It's 8 a.m., 26 hours since the attacks began, 14 hours since they stopped. We're still here, still broadcasting, still connecting survivors, still providing information. That's our role, our contribution, our service to humanity recovering from catastrophe. We'll continue broadcasting daily, providing updates, sharing stories, connecting people until recovery is complete, until normalcy returns, until humanity is stable again. However long that takes, we're here. We're not going anywhere. This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw. We survived. You survived. We're rebuilding together. Stay with us.
Good morning. It's 6 a.m. on September 25th. 1 week since the animal event. This is Marcus Reed with Elena Shaw on Aftermath Radio. Recovery continues. We're making progress, real measurable progress. The death toll has stabilized. No new deaths from animal attacks. Casualties from the event total 437 million confirmed. That's the final number unless we find more bodies in remote areas. But that's what we lost. 437 million people dead in 12 hours. We're processing that loss, mourning that loss, building memorials, holding services, honoring the dead. That's necessary. That's healing. That's how we cope with trauma of that magnitude, by acknowledging it, by remembering, by ensuring the dead are not forgotten. Infrastructure is substantially restored. Power is back in most areas. Water systems are functional. Communication networks are operating. Food distribution is improving. We're not at pre-event levels, but we're approaching functionality, approaching normalcy. That's success. That's recovery.
Agriculture is restarting. Farms are operating. Livestock is being tended. Crops are being planted. We'll have food shortage this season. Too much production time was lost. But we won't have famine, won't have mass starvation. We'll have rationing, have reduced variety, but sufficient calories. That's success. That's survival. Long-term agriculture recovers fully. Next season, the season after, production returns to normal levels, population returns to normal diet. That's the timeline. That's the projection. We're going to make it. Economically, we're facing recession, lost production, lost workers, lost infrastructure. GDP will contract 20% this year, maybe more. That's depression-level contraction, but not collapse, not civilizational failure, just economic difficulty, hardship. We've survived worse. We survived world wars and panics and depressions. We'll survive this. We'll rebuild economy, restore production, return to prosperity. It takes time, takes years, but it happens because we make it happen, because we work, because we persist.
Psychologically, we're healing slowly, painfully, but healing. Mental health services are overwhelmed. Demand exceeds supply by orders of magnitude. Everyone needs support. Everyone has trauma. We're training more counselors, expanding services, creating community support networks. It's not enough, won't be enough for years, but it's something. It's progress. It's help for some. And we're seeing resilience, seeing people adapt, seeing communities support each other, seeing humanity do what we do best, persist despite pain, cope despite trauma, continue despite loss. That's who we are. That's what makes us human. Not that we don't feel pain, but that we feel it and continue anyway, that we hurt and heal simultaneously, that we grieve and grow concurrently. We're doing that now as individuals, as communities, as a species. We're healing. Relationship with animals is complex. Some people have returned to keeping pets, have rebuilt trust, have resumed normal relationships. Others can't, won't, have permanent fear and distrust. Both responses are valid. Both are respected. We're not judging, not prescribing. Just acknowledging that people heal differently, cope differently, move forward differently. That's okay. That's human diversity. That's strength, actually.
Scientifically, we're making discoveries. Dr. Chen's team has learned enormous amounts from studying the control signal. They've published preliminary findings. The signal was quantum encoded, used quantum entanglement for information transmission. That's technology we're just beginning to understand, just beginning to develop. Whoever created this is centuries ahead of us. Technologically, maybe millennia. That's humbling. That's perspective on humanity's place in universe. We're not advanced, we're primitive, barely spacefaring, barely technological by cosmic standards. There's intelligence out there that makes us look like children. That's the reality we live with now. That's the universe we know we inhabit. It changes everything, changes how we see ourselves, how we approach space, how we think about contact with other intelligence. We're cautious now, careful, aware that contact might be hostile, that other intelligence might see us as threat or pest or irrelevant. We don't assume friendship, don't assume cooperation. We assume caution, assume defense, assume preparedness. That's our new stance toward cosmos. Cautious engagement, armed peace, watchful coexistence. That's what the animal event taught us.
We still don't know who or what attacked us. The investigation continues. Military is searching near-Earth space, finding nothing obvious, no alien spacecraft, no orbital platforms, no physical evidence of external presence. That doesn't mean nothing is there. Just means we can't detect it with our current technology. It could be cloaked, could be in dimensions we can't perceive, could be so advanced we can't recognize it as artificial. We keep looking, keep searching, but except we might never find the source, might never know who or why. That's frustrating, that's unsatisfying, but that's reality. Not all questions have answers. Not all mysteries are solved. Sometimes we live with uncertainty, live with not knowing. That's part of being human, part of existing in vast, complex universe. We don't know everything, won't ever know everything. We accept that. We live with it. We move forward despite it. This is from Thomas in his high-rise. We've organized, created a community, 50 people who survived together. We're staying together, supporting each other. We've claimed this building, made it our home. We're proving that community formed in crisis can persist afterward, can become foundation for new society. We're micro-civilization, self-governing, self-supporting. We share resources, share work, share decision-making. It's working. It's beautiful, actually. The crisis forced us together, but we're choosing to stay together because it's better, because we're stronger together, because community is how humans thrive. This is the model. This is what rebuilding looks like, not returning to isolation, but embracing community, building connection, creating society from ground up based on cooperation. That's our gift to the future. That's what we learned from surviving.
Thomas represents the best outcome. Communities formed in crisis becoming permanent, becoming foundations for rebuilt civilization. That's happening globally. Survivor groups staying together, building communities, building new society based on lessons learned, based on understanding that cooperation is survival, that community is strength, that isolation is death. These communities are experiments, are proving grounds for new social structures. Some will fail, some will succeed brilliantly. We're watching, learning, seeing what works, what persists, what creates happy, functional, survivable community. That informs how we rebuild, what structures we create, what society we build from ashes. This is evolutionary moment, social evolution, trying new forms, seeing what survives, what thrives, what works. That's exciting. That's opportunity amid catastrophe. Chance to build better, to build wiser, to build based on experience rather than ideology. That's the silver lining, the growth from trauma.
This is Marcus Reed with final thoughts on 1 week of recovery. We survived, we're rebuilding, we're healing. We lost 437 million people. That's tragedy beyond comprehension, beyond articulation. We mourn them, we honor them, we ensure their deaths meant something by building better future, by creating civilization worthy of their sacrifice. That's our duty, our responsibility, our promise. We learned lessons about community, about cooperation, about our place in universe, about vulnerability, about resilience, hard lessons, painful lessons, but valuable lessons. We're different now, changed, grown, we're wiser, more humble, more grateful, more appreciative of life and safety and normalcy. We don't take those for granted anymore. We cherish them, we protect them, we build society that maintains them. That's what comes from this. That's the meaning we create. From catastrophe comes growth. From trauma comes wisdom. From near extinction comes appreciation for existence. That's humanity. That's our gift. Making meaning from suffering. Creating purpose from pain. Building beauty from ashes. We're doing that now. This week, this month, this year. We rebuild, we recover, we persist. Because that's what we do. That's who we are. Survivors, builders, humans. This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw signing off from Aftermath Radio. 1 week after the animal event, 1 week into recovery, 1 week closer to the future. We're building. Stay strong, stay connected, stay human. We survive together, we rebuild together, we thrive together. Until tomorrow, good night. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Freedom Radio. I'm Marcus Reed, and with me tonight is Elena Shaw. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we need to address what's happening across the nation right now. For those just tuning in, the situation has escalated beyond anything we could have imagined 48 hours ago. What began as protests and political demonstrations has evolved into what some are calling the beginning of a second civil war. Elena, the president has fled Washington, D.C. The capital of the United States is under siege.
Marcus, I want to be very clear about the timeline because understanding how we got here is critical. 72 hours ago, the Supreme Court issued a ruling that invalidated the most recent presidential election. They declared the results void due to what they called systematic irregularities and ordered a new election to be held within 90 days. Within an hour of that ruling, protests erupted in every major city. Within 12 hours, those protests turned violent. Within 24 hours, state governors were choosing sides. Some supported the Supreme Court decision. Others called it a coup. The nation split.
By yesterday morning, 3 governors had declared their states would not recognize the Supreme Court's authority: California, Oregon, and Washington. They announced they would continue recognizing the current administration as legitimate. By yesterday afternoon, Texas, Florida, and 6 other states declared they would recognize the Supreme Court's ruling and consider the current administration illegitimate. By yesterday evening, we had 2 competing claims to governmental authority, 2 groups claiming to be the legitimate government of the United States. And this morning it turned kinetic.
Military units started choosing sides. The 1st Infantry Division at Fort Riley, Kansas, declared for the Supreme Court faction. Let's call them the Constitutionalists. The 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, declared for the current administration, the Continuity faction. Other units split internally, officers supporting one side, enlisted personnel supporting another. By noon, we had firefights on military bases, American soldiers shooting American soldiers. The unthinkable became real. The military has fractured.
And 6 hours ago at 2 p.m., armed militia groups seized control of downtown Washington, D.C. The group, calling themselves the Patriot Liberation Front, claims to represent the constitutionalist cause. They took the Capitol building, the Supreme Court, and several federal buildings. They're holding them now. The president, the vice president, most of Congress, they evacuated before the takeover. The White House is empty. The capital of the United States is occupied by insurgents. The government has fled to an undisclosed location. America, as we knew it, no longer exists in any meaningful form.
It's 8:15 p.m. Let's talk about what this actually means on the ground, because the constitutional and political theory is less important than the practical reality people are facing. In constitutionalist-controlled areas, primarily the South and parts of the Midwest, new authorities have taken over. State governments that declared for the constitutionalist cause are establishing their own governance structures. They're no longer following federal law. They're creating their own laws, their own enforcement, their own everything. In continuity-controlled areas, primarily the West Coast and Northeast, federal authority continues, but it's contested and weakening.
And then there are the contested territories, states where the government supports one side but significant populations support the other, states where different regions have declared for different factions. Pennsylvania is split. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh support continuity. The center of the state supports constitutionalists. Virginia is split. Northern Virginia supports continuity. The rest supports constitutionalists. In these states, we're seeing armed confrontations between factions, roadblocks, checkpoints, armed groups controlling territory. It's not guerrilla warfare yet, but it's heading that direction.
The economic implications are immediate and catastrophic. The stock market has been closed for 36 hours. They shut it down when the crisis started. When it reopens, if it reopens, analysts predict losses of 50 to 70%, but that's almost irrelevant. The real economy is collapsing. Interstate commerce has stopped. Trucking companies won't cross state lines because they don't know what authority controls the roads, what laws apply, whether they'll be seized by one faction or another. Ports are shut down. Airports are closed. The flow of goods that keeps America functioning has stopped.
We're already seeing shortages. Grocery stores in major cities are being emptied, not by panic buying this time, by actual supply chain failure. The food isn't being delivered because the trucks aren't running. Gas stations are running dry for the same reason. Hospitals are rationing medical supplies. This isn't temporary. This is the breakdown of the integrated national economy. We've taken for granted that food appears in stores, that gas is available, that goods flow freely. All of that depended on national unity, on common authority, on interstate commerce working. None of that exists anymore.
It's 8:30 p.m. Marcus, we need to discuss what's happening in the military because that's the most critical factor. As of this evening, approximately 40% of U.S. military forces have declared for the Constitutionalists. About 35% have declared for continuity. The remaining 25% are either undecided, split internally, or have collapsed as functioning units due to internal conflict. This is catastrophic. The world's most powerful military has fractured into competing factions that may soon be fighting each other in a full civil war.
The nuclear arsenal is the most frightening aspect. The United States has about 5,000 nuclear weapons spread across multiple locations, silos in the Midwest, submarine bases on both coasts, bomber bases in multiple states. Who controls these weapons now? The continuity faction claims they retain control of the nuclear command authority because the president, their president, still has the nuclear codes, but the constitutionalists claim that authority is illegitimate. If both sides claim control, if both sides have personnel with access to nuclear weapons, we're facing a scenario where nuclear weapons could be used on American soil.
The Pentagon itself is contested. Parts of the building are held by continuity-loyal forces. Parts are held by constitutionalist-loyal forces. There are literal armed standoffs in the hallways of the Pentagon. The Joint Chiefs are split, some supporting each side. There is no unified military command. Every base commander is making their own decision about which faction to support. Some bases have split, with different units controlling different parts of the installation. We've lost civilian control of the military. We've lost military chain of command. What we have is armed forces in chaos.
It's 8:45 p.m. Let's address the international dimension because the world is watching this with a mixture of horror and opportunism. America has been the global hegemon for 80 years. American military power, American economic power, American cultural influence, these have shaped the world order. Now, America is collapsing into civil conflict. What does that mean for global stability? China is already moving on Taiwan. Russia is mobilizing forces along the Ukrainian border. Regional powers that were constrained by American presence are suddenly unconstrained.
NATO is in crisis. The alliance was built around American leadership. Without America functioning as a unified state, NATO has no leader. European members are debating whether to recognize continuity or constitutionalists or neither. Some are hedging, maintaining relations with both factions. Others are choosing sides. Germany has indicated support for continuity. Poland is leaning constitutionalist. NATO might fracture along with America. The entire Western alliance structure built after World War II could collapse in the wake of American collapse.
U.S. military forces overseas are in impossible positions. We have troops in over 70 countries. Those troops are suddenly without clear orders. Some base commanders are declaring for one faction or another. Others are staying neutral, trying to avoid being drawn into American civil conflict while stationed abroad. In some locations, like Germany and Japan, host nations are demanding American forces leave because they don't want to deal with the complexity of competing U.S. factions operating on their soil. American global military presence is evaporating.
The dollar is collapsing. The U.S. dollar has been the global reserve currency for decades. International trade, oil markets, national reserves, all denominated in dollars because of confidence in American stability. That confidence is gone. We're watching the dollar lose 30-40% of its value against other currencies in real time. Countries are dumping dollar reserves, switching to euros, yuan, gold. The petrodollar system is ending. This represents the end of American economic hegemony. The financial implications will affect every person on the planet.
It's 9 p.m. We've been on the air for 1 hour. Elena, let me read a statement that was just released by the continuity government. That's what they're calling themselves now. Not just the administration, but the continuity government of the United States. This was issued from an undisclosed location. The continuity government remains the sole legitimate authority of the United States. The occupation of Washington, D.C. by extremist militia groups is an illegal insurrection. The Supreme Court ruling that precipitated this crisis was made under duress and is invalid. We call on all military forces, all law enforcement, all civil authorities to recognize our legitimate government. We call on citizens to remain calm and await restoration of order. Those participating in armed rebellion will face prosecution. The Union will be preserved.
And here's the counterstatement from the constitutionalists, issued from their headquarters, which they've established in Atlanta. The Constitutional Council of the United States represents the lawful continuity of American government. The previous administration's refusal to accept the Supreme Court's ruling constitutes a coup against constitutional authority. We have liberated Washington, D.C. from an illegitimate regime. We call on all Americans to recognize constitutional legitimacy. State governments that support the Constitutional Council are acting lawfully. Those supporting the false continuity government are engaged in rebellion. We seek peaceful resolution, but will defend the Constitution by force if necessary.
So we have two governments, each claiming to be legitimate, each calling the other illegitimate, each claiming authority over the military, over federal agencies, over everything, and critically, each accusing the other of rebellion and threatening force. This is not political rhetoric. These are governments preparing for civil war. The language is escalating. The positions are hardening. The window for peaceful resolution is closing, may already be closed. We're sliding toward full-scale conflict.
It's 9:15 p.m. Let's talk about what's happening in specific regions because the situation varies dramatically across the country. The West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, these states have formed what they're calling the Pacific Coalition. They've declared support for continuity, but are also asserting significant autonomy. They're saying they'll support continuity's claim to federal authority, but will also make independent decisions about their own governance. It's a hedged position. They're preparing for the possibility that continuity collapses and they need to be independent.
The Pacific Coalition is fortunate in some ways. They're geographically isolated from the main conflict zone, protected by mountains and deserts. They have significant economic power. California alone is the fifth largest economy in the world. They have ports, agriculture, technology. They could potentially function as an independent entity if they needed to. They're preparing for that possibility while publicly supporting continuity. It's pragmatic, but it also signals that national unity is gone. Even states supporting continuity don't trust that continuity will survive.
The South is solidly constitutionalist. Texas, Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas. These states have formed what they call the Constitutional Alliance. They're coordinating governance, coordinating military forces, coordinating economics. They're building a functional state structure separate from anything continuity controls. The Constitutional Alliance has significant resources, oil and gas production, agricultural capacity, military installations, population. They're positioning themselves as a rival power center to continuity.
The Midwest is fragmented. Some states like Kansas and Oklahoma are constitutionalist. Others like Illinois and Michigan are continuity. Still others like Ohio and Indiana are contested with different regions supporting different factions. The Midwest is likely to become a primary battleground because it's where the two factions meet geographically. The Mississippi River could become a front line. Interstate highways could become battle zones. The heartland of America could become a war zone in the coming weeks.
It's 9:30 p.m. Marcus, we need to address what ordinary people should be doing because we're getting thousands of messages from listeners asking for guidance. People are scared. They don't know what's happening, what it means for them, what they should do. Let's try to provide some practical advice. First, if you're in a contested area, a state or region, where both factions are claiming authority, you need to prioritize safety over politics. Don't get involved in factional fighting unless you're prepared for the consequences. Keep your head down.
Second, stockpile essentials. The supply chain is broken. Food, water, medicine, fuel. Get what you can now because it's going to become scarce and expensive. We're heading toward shortages that could last months. Don't panic buy, but do prepare for extended disruption. Third, secure your home. Civil disorder is increasing. Police in many areas are either choosing sides or simply not responding because they don't know what authority to follow. You're responsible for your own security. Lock doors, reinforce entry points, have means of self-defense.
Fourth, maintain communications. Cell networks are still mostly functional but could be shut down by one faction or another. Have backup communication methods, ham radio, CB radio, even just agreements with neighbors about how to signal each other. Fifth, form community networks. Isolated individuals won't survive a prolonged crisis. Communities will talk to neighbors, organize mutual support, share resources and security responsibilities. The social fabric is tearing. You need to maintain it at the local level, even if it's failing nationally.
And sixth, be very careful about taking sides. Right now, the factions are competing for support. They want military forces, law enforcement, civilians to declare loyalty, but declaring for one side makes you an enemy of the other. If the balance of power shifts, if your side loses in your area, you could face retaliation. Unless you're deeply committed to one faction and willing to fight for them, staying neutral is safer. This is pragmatic survival advice, not political commentary. We're not telling you what to believe. We're telling you how to survive.
It's 9:45 p.m. Let me share some messages we've received from listeners across the country because they illustrate what people are experiencing. This one is from someone in Atlanta. I live near the Constitutionalist headquarters. There are soldiers everywhere, checkpoints on every major street. They're stopping cars, checking IDs, asking people what side they support. I saw them detain someone who said they supported continuity. I don't know what happened to that person. I'm keeping my mouth shut and my opinions to myself. This is America. This isn't supposed to happen here.
Another from the Seattle area. The Pacific Coalition announced food rationing today. Grocery stores are limiting purchases, 2 cans of each item, limits on meat and dairy, no bulk buying. They're saying it's temporary until supply chains are reestablished, but everyone knows the supply chains aren't coming back anytime soon. People are getting desperate. I saw a fight break out at Safeway over the last package of chicken. This is Seattle. We're supposed to be civilized. It's breaking down so fast.
From Pennsylvania. I'm in the central part of the state. We're in the middle of contested territory. Yesterday, a constitutionalist militia group came through town, setting up checkpoints, taking over the police station. Today, a Continuity National Guard unit showed up, and there was a standoff. Shooting started, 3 people dead, including 1 civilian who was just in the wrong place. The Guard drove the militia out, but said they couldn't stay to protect us. We're on our own. Neither side can protect us, but both sides are willing to fight here.
From a military base, the person didn't say which one. I'm an officer on a base that's split between constitutionalist and continuity factions. We've divided the base into sectors. There's an unofficial demilitarized zone between sectors. We're not shooting at each other yet, but everyone is armed, everyone is tense. I served with these people for years. They're my brothers and sisters in arms. Now we're pointing guns at each other over politics. Some of my friends are on the other side. I might have to kill them, or they might kill me. This is insane.
It's 10 p.m. We've been broadcasting for 2 hours. Marcus, let's discuss the humanitarian crisis that's emerging. We're already seeing massive displacement of populations, people fleeing contested areas, trying to get to regions firmly controlled by whichever faction they support, people fleeing violence, people fleeing shortages. Estimates suggest 10 to 15 million people are on the move right now. This is a refugee crisis happening inside America. Where do these people go? Who takes care of them?
The states receiving refugees are overwhelmed. California is seeing an influx of people from the Southwest. New York is receiving people from contested areas in Pennsylvania and the Mid-Atlantic. These states are trying to provide shelter, food, medical care, but they don't have the resources to handle this volume. They're setting up emergency camps, converted stadiums, convention centers, tent cities. Conditions are poor. Overcrowding, inadequate sanitation, limited food, disease outbreaks are inevitable. The humanitarian suffering is just beginning.
There's also the question of who gets to be a refugee. If you're fleeing a constitutionalist area and you show up in a continuity area, you're welcomed as a refugee. But if you're fleeing a continuity area trying to get to a constitutionalist area, the continuity faction might not let you leave. You're a citizen, a potential soldier, a resource. Both factions are starting to restrict movement. It's becoming difficult to cross factional lines. Internal borders are hardening. America is fragmenting into separate countries with closed borders.
It's 10:15 p.m. Let's talk about what happened in Washington, D.C. in more detail because it's the symbolic heart of this crisis. The Patriot Liberation Front, the militia group that seized control of the Capitol, numbers approximately 3,000 armed members. They're not military trained, though some have veteran backgrounds. They're a mix of militia members, political extremists, and people who genuinely believe they're saving the Constitution. They took the Capitol, the Supreme Court, and several federal buildings through a combination of surprise, overwhelming numbers, and the fact that security forces were already divided in their loyalties.
The Capitol building is now flying a modified American flag, 13 stars in a circle, representing what the PLF calls a return to original constitutional principles. The Supreme Court is flying the same flag. The PLF has declared Washington, D.C. to be the capital of the Constitutional Alliance. They're calling it Liberated Washington or Constitutional D.C. They've invited constitutionalist leadership to relocate there, but so far the Constitutional Alliance has kept its headquarters in Atlanta. I suspect they're worried about the tactical vulnerability of D.C. It could be retaken by continuity forces.
There are still civilians in D.C. estimated at about half the normal population of 700,000. Many fled when the crisis started, but many stayed either because they couldn't leave or because they chose to stay in their homes. These people are now living under PLF occupation. Reports indicate the PLF is trying to maintain order, providing some basic services, but they're not a government. They're an armed group with no governance expertise. Conditions are deteriorating, no trash collection, limited electricity, water systems are stressed. D.C. is becoming a humanitarian crisis zone.
The symbolic impact of losing D.C. is enormous. The capital of the United States is occupied by insurgents. The White House is empty. The Capitol is flying a rebel flag. To Americans and to the world, this signals that the United States government has lost control. It doesn't matter that the continuity government still exists somewhere. The fact that they don't control the Capitol undermines their legitimacy. The Constitutional Alliance is gaining legitimacy simply by holding D.C. symbols matter. Perception matters. The loss of Washington is a catastrophic blow to continuity.
It's 10:30 p.m. Elena, we need to discuss the very real possibility of foreign intervention. When a nuclear-armed nation collapses into civil war, other nations have to consider whether to intervene to protect their interests. China and Russia are the most obvious candidates. Both have the military capability. Both have strategic interests that could be served by intervention. The question is what form that intervention would take. Would they support one faction, support both, invade to secure nuclear weapons? The possibilities are frightening.
China has significant economic interests in America. They hold over $1 trillion in U.S. debt. They have massive trade relationships with American companies. A collapsed America hurts China economically. But it also creates opportunities. If China could align with one faction, likely the Pacific Coalition, given geographic proximity, they could secure their interests and gain influence over a large portion of American territory and economy. They could position themselves as the guarantor of stability on the West Coast in exchange for basing rights, trade agreements, political influence.
Russia's interests are more straightforward. They want American power diminished. A divided, weakened America can't oppose Russian ambitions in Europe and Central Asia. Russia is likely to support whichever faction appears weaker, prolonging the conflict. They might provide covert support to both sides just to keep the war going. The longer America fights itself, the more freedom Russia has to act globally. They don't need America destroyed completely, just distracted and weakened. Civil war accomplishes that perfectly.
European nations face a different calculation. They've been allied with America for generations. They depend on American military protection, American markets, American leadership. America's collapse leaves them exposed and economically damaged. Some European leaders are calling for international intervention, a UN peacekeeping force to stabilize America. Others are arguing Europe should stay out and focus on defending European interests. NATO is paralyzed by disagreement. The alliance that kept peace in the West for 75 years is crumbling.
It's 10:45 p.m. Let me read a statement from the UN Secretary General that was issued an hour ago. The United Nations is deeply concerned by the rapidly deteriorating situation in the United States. We call on all parties to cease hostilities, engage in dialogue, and seek peaceful resolution. The international community stands ready to assist in mediation efforts. We urge restraint, particularly regarding nuclear weapons. Any use of nuclear weapons on American soil or elsewhere would be catastrophic. We call on international partners to avoid intervention that could escalate the conflict. The American people must resolve this crisis themselves, but the world will help if asked.
That statement is carefully worded but reveals a lot. The UN is terrified of nuclear escalation. That's the primary concern. They're also implicitly warning other nations not to intervene militarily. And critically, they're acknowledging that this is America's crisis to resolve. The international community isn't going to fix this for us. We're on our own. The world will watch, will manage the fallout, will protect their own interests, but they're not going to save us. Americans created this situation. Americans will live or die with the consequences. And
it's 11 p.m. We're 3 hours into this broadcast. Elena, I want to address something we've been avoiding. The possibility that this can't be resolved peacefully, that we're in the opening stages of an actual civil war that could last years. The first Civil War lasted 4 years and killed over 600,000 people, about 2% of the population. A modern civil war with current weapons, current population, could kill tens of millions. The economic destruction could take generations to recover from. We could be facing the end of America as a unified nation.
The conditions for prolonged civil war are all present. Deep ideological division, check. Both sides claiming legitimate authority, check. Military forces divided between factions, check. Geographic separation allowing for consolidated territorial control, check. External powers willing to provide support to prolong conflict, check. Economic collapse creating desperation, check. Loss of faith in peaceful resolution, check. Marcus, every indicator suggests this is going to get much worse before it gets better, if it gets better at all.
The optimistic scenario is that one side wins quickly. Either constitutionalist or continuity establishes clear dominance, the other side collapses, and we have a new government. Not the one everyone wanted, but at least one government that can restore order. The pessimistic scenario is a protracted multi-year conflict with no clear winner. The country fragments into separate entities, Pacific Coalition, Constitutional Alliance, Midwest Republic, whatever emerges. We become multiple nations instead of one. American history ends. New histories begin.
There's an even more pessimistic scenario. Neither side can win, but neither side will surrender. The conflict becomes frozen. Permanent division with active borders, occasional fighting, no resolution. Like Korea after the Korean War, except it's America. We end up with 2 or 3 or more American successor states, all claiming to be the legitimate America, all hostile to each other, all armed with nuclear weapons. That's a nightmare scenario, permanent Cold War between American successor states. It's almost unthinkable, but it's possible.
It's 11:15 p.m. Let's discuss what's happening with federal agencies because the breakdown is comprehensive. The FBI has split. Agents are choosing sides. Some FBI offices have declared for constitutionalists, others for continuity. The agency has ceased functioning as a unified entity. The CIA is similarly divided. NSA is fractured. Every intelligence agency is choosing sides or dissolving into chaos. This means there's no federal law enforcement. There's no unified intelligence capability. Each faction is trying to reconstitute these capabilities, but right now there's just fragmentation.
The Federal Reserve is in crisis. The dollar is collapsing, but the Fed can't effectively respond because there's no unified government to coordinate with. Different regional Federal Reserve banks are making their own decisions. Some are following continuity directives. Others are acting independently. The financial system is breaking down along factional lines. We might see different regional currencies emerging. The Constitutional Alliance has discussed issuing their own currency. The Pacific Coalition is considering the same. The dollar as a unified national currency may not survive.
The Postal Service has stopped functioning across factional lines. Mail delivery within continuity territory continues. Mail within constitutional territory continues. But mail between territories has stopped. You can't send a letter from California to Texas. They're different countries now for practical purposes. The same with package delivery services. FedEx and UPS have suspended service across factional lines because they can't guarantee safety of drivers or packages. The infrastructure of national connectivity is severed.
Social Security checks have stopped. Medicare payments have stopped. Federal employees aren't being paid. Everyone who depends on federal benefits or federal employment is suddenly without income. Both factions are trying to establish their own benefit systems, but it's chaos. People who paid into Social Security for decades are being told they'll have to reapply under whatever new system emerges. Retirees who depend on Social Security are suddenly destitute. The social safety net has collapsed. Millions of vulnerable people are in crisis.
It's 11:30 p.m. Let me share what we're hearing about military movements because kinetic conflict is approaching. The Constitutional Alliance is massing forces along the Tennessee-Kentucky border. Kentucky is constitutionalist, but southern Illinois just across the border is continuity territory. There are troop concentrations on both sides. It looks like both sides are preparing for a conventional military engagement. If that happens, if we see massed formations of American military units fighting each other, it's full civil war. We're not there yet, but we're very close.
The Navy is fragmenting by geography. Pacific Fleet is declaring for continuity. They're based in California and Washington continuity territory. Atlantic Fleet is more divided. Some ships declaring constitutionalists, some continuity, some staying neutral and withdrawing to international waters. Submarines are the biggest concern. Attack submarines and ballistic missile submarines have declared for various factions or have gone silent. Nuclear-armed submarines answering to no clear authority is a terrifying situation. One submarine commander making an irrational decision could trigger nuclear exchange.
Air Force bases are similarly divided. Some are constitutionalists, some continuity. But here's the thing about air power. It projects across territory regardless of ground control. A bomber based in Texas can strike targets in California. A fighter squadron based in Washington can strike targets in the South. We haven't seen airstrikes yet, but the capability exists on both sides. When the shooting starts, it could escalate very quickly to aerial bombardment, American planes bombing American cities. We're preparing for scenarios that were unthinkable a week ago.
It's 11:45 p.m. Marcus, we need to address what's happening at the local level, because while we're talking about states and factions and military forces, most Americans are experiencing this at the community level. Local governments are trying to maintain services. Police departments are trying to maintain order. Fire departments are responding to emergencies. Schools in some areas are still open. People are going to work if they can. There's a desperate attempt to maintain normalcy even as the national structure collapses.
But that normalcy is fragile. Local governments depend on state governments for funding and direction. State governments depend on federal funding, which no longer exists in any meaningful form. Local police depend on state law, which is now contested. Local economies depend on interstate commerce, which has stopped. Everything is connected. You can't maintain local normalcy when state and federal structures have collapsed. The breakdown will work its way down from national to state to local. It's inevitable. The only question is how long local structures can hold.
We're seeing neighborhood-level organization emerge. People are forming block associations, neighborhood watch groups, community defense organizations. These are filling the gap left by failing governmental structures. In some ways, it's beautiful. Communities coming together, helping each other, organizing for mutual support. In other ways, it's frightening. Armed civilian groups with no oversight, making their own rules, enforcing their own justice. Vigilante groups, militias. Some are protective and helpful. Others are dangerous and predatory.
It's midnight. We've been broadcasting for 4 hours. Elena, the sun set on a divided nation tonight. Tomorrow's sun will rise on a nation at war with itself. I don't think there's any avoiding it now. The momentum toward full civil war is overwhelming. Both factions are mobilizing military forces. Both are preparing for conflict. Neither is willing to compromise. The window for peaceful resolution has closed. What happens next is violence on a scale Americans haven't experienced since the 1860s. We're living through history, terrible history.
I want to address our listeners directly. Many of you are alone tonight, scared, wondering what tomorrow brings. You're not alone. Millions are listening. Millions are feeling the same fear. Millions are asking the same questions. We don't have easy answers. We can't tell you everything will be okay because we don't know if it will be. What we can tell you is this. Humans are resilient. Communities survive. People adapt. Whatever happens, some will make it through. Focus on survival, on family, on community. Those are what matter now. The nation may fall, but people endure.
It's 12:15 a.m. We're now into a new day, day 4 of the crisis, if we're counting from the Supreme Court ruling, but it feels like years have passed. The America we knew 72 hours ago is gone. We're living in something new and undefined, a failed state, a fragmenting nation, a country at war with itself. Whatever name we give it, it's not the United States of America as it existed. That's over. What comes next, whether it's multiple nations, a reunified America under one faction, or something else entirely, that's still being determined. We're in the liminal space, the in-between, the terrifying unknown.
Let me read a message we just received that captures this moment. It's from a college student in Ohio. She writes, I'm 20 years old. I've lived my entire life in stable, prosperous America. I took for granted that tomorrow would be like today, that the government would function, that the economy would work, that I could plan a future. All of that is gone. I don't know if I'll finish college. I don't know if my degree would matter in whatever world comes next. I don't know if I'll get married, have kids, have a career, all the things I assumed I'd do. My future evaporated. I'm grieving for a life I'll never have, and I'm terrified of what life I will have. I don't know how to process this.
That student is experiencing what millions are experiencing, the collapse of assumed futures. The life you thought you'd have, it's not happening. The country you thought you'd live in, it's gone. The stability you took for granted, it was an illusion. This is traumatic. This is grief. Allow yourself to feel it. But then after you've felt it, you have to adapt. You have to build a new plan for the new reality. You're 20 years old. You have decades of life ahead if you survive. Those decades will be different than you planned, but they'll be your decades. Find a way to make them meaningful.
It's 12:30 a.m. Marcus, let's talk about what happens to American military forces overseas. We have about 170,000 troops stationed in various countries around the world. Those troops are now without clear orders. Some commanders are declaring for one faction or another. Others are staying neutral. But they're all in impossible positions. They're representing a country that no longer exists in unified form. Host nations are demanding they leave. Without resupply from America, they can't sustain operations. We're going to see a withdrawal of American forces from around the world. The global American military presence is ending.
This creates power vacuums everywhere. South Korea has depended on American forces to counter North Korea. What happens when those forces leave? Japan has depended on American protection against China. What happens when that protection disappears? NATO member states have depended on American commitment to collective defense. What happens when America can't honor that commitment because America is fighting itself? The entire global security architecture built around American power is collapsing. Regional powers will fill the vacuums. The world order is changing fundamentally.
American embassies around the world are in crisis. Who do they represent? Continuity, constitutionalists, neither. Some ambassadors are declaring for one faction. Others are trying to stay neutral. Others are resigning. Host nations are debating whether to recognize these embassies at all. In some cases, embassies have been closed and diplomats expelled. American diplomatic presence, like American military presence, is evaporating. The global network of American power and influence built over a century is being dismantled in days. And
it's 12:45 a.m. Let's discuss the information environment because it's shaping how people understand and respond to this crisis. Social media is filled with propaganda from both factions. Continuity supporters are sharing messages about constitutional crisis and illegal coups. Constitutionalist supporters are sharing messages about election fraud and restoration of legitimate government. Both sides are claiming the other is tyrannical, dangerous, illegitimate. The information space is completely polarized. There's no shared understanding of reality anymore.
Mainstream media has fractured along factional lines. Cable news networks have chosen sides. Some support continuity, some support constitutionalists. Some are trying to stay neutral but are accused by both sides of bias. Print newspapers are similarly divided. There's no Walter Cronkite figure who everyone trusts to tell the truth. There's no shared source of information. Everyone is getting their news from sources that confirm their pre-existing beliefs. This makes compromise impossible because people can't even agree on basic facts.
We're trying to maintain neutrality at Freedom Radio. We're reporting what both sides say. We're trying to give people factual information so they can make their own decisions, but we're getting criticism from both factions. Continuity supporters say we're legitimizing an illegal rebellion by treating constitutionalists as a valid faction. Constitutionalist supporters say we're legitimizing an illegal regime by treating continuity as a valid faction. Both sides want us to pick a side, but if we do that, we lose credibility with half our audience. So we stay neutral and get criticized by everyone.
It's 1 a.m. We're 5 hours into this broadcast, and we're going to continue through the night. Many of you can't sleep. Many are monitoring the situation obsessively. We'll be here with you. Let me update you on the humanitarian situation because it's deteriorating rapidly. Hospitals are running out of supplies. Many medications are in short supply, particularly insulin, heart medications, cancer treatments. People with chronic conditions are in crisis. Dialysis centers are shutting down because they can't get supplies. People are dying from lack of medical care, not because of violence, but because of system breakdown.
Food banks are overwhelmed. With supply chains broken and people losing income, millions are suddenly food insecure. Food banks depend on donations and supplies from national organizations. Those supply lines have failed. Food banks are running out of food. Hunger is becoming widespread. Not starvation yet. We have enough food in the country to feed everyone for a while, but distribution is broken. Food is sitting in warehouses in some places while people in other places are hungry. The problem is logistics, transportation, organization, all of which have collapsed.
Utilities are holding for now but are stressed. Electrical grids are interconnected across state lines. Water systems depend on chemicals and equipment that come from out of state. Natural gas pipelines cross multiple states. These systems were designed for a unified nation with free commerce. They're not designed for a fragmented nation with closed borders. Engineers are scrambling to keep systems running, but they're predicting failures in the coming weeks. We could see rolling blackouts, water supply interruptions, loss of heating as we head into winter. Infrastructure collapse is coming.
It's 1:15 a.m. Elena, we need to discuss the possibility of foreign military intervention in more detail because there are reports that Russia is considering it. Specifically, there are reports of Russian forces mobilizing on their Pacific coast, potentially preparing to move into Alaska. Alaska is U.S. territory, but it's geographically isolated from the rest of America. It's resource-rich: oil, natural gas, minerals. If Russia seized Alaska during American Civil War, there's not much either American faction could do about it. We don't have forces available to retake it. This could be Russian opportunism at its most brazen.
The Pacific Coalition has issued a statement saying they will defend Alaska as part of their territory, but they don't have military forces positioned to actually do that. Alaska has a small population and limited military presence. If Russia moved, Alaska would fall quickly. Then what? Does the Pacific Coalition accept the loss? Do they try to negotiate? Do they ask China for help countering Russia, creating an even more complex international situation? Alaska might be the first piece of American territory lost to foreign powers. It wouldn't be the last.
China is reportedly in negotiations with the Pacific Coalition about some kind of mutual defense agreement. Details are unclear, but the concept would be that China provides military support to the Pacific Coalition in exchange for basing rights and economic concessions. This would effectively make the Pacific Coalition a Chinese client state, California, Oregon, Washington, under Chinese protection. It's a stunning reversal. These states have been part of America for over a century and a half. Now they might align with a foreign power for protection against other Americans. The fragmentation is complete.
It's 1:30 a.m. Let me share what we're hearing about conditions in Washington, D.C. under PLF occupation. The Patriot Liberation Front is trying to govern the city, but they're not equipped for it. They're rationing the food they have. They're trying to maintain security, but don't have training in law enforcement. Crime is increasing, looting, violence, chaos. The PLF is responding with harsh measures, public punishments, executions in some cases. They're ruling through intimidation. Civilians are terrified. Many are trying to leave, but the PLF isn't letting people leave easily. They need the population there to legitimize their control. D.C. is becoming a prison city.
There are also reports of resistance within D.C. groups loyal to continuity are conducting sabotage, cutting power, disrupting communications, attacking PLF patrols. The PLF is responding with crackdowns, door-to-door searches, mass arrests, brutal interrogations. They're treating the civilian population as potentially hostile. This is creating a vicious cycle. Harsh treatment creates more resistance. More resistance justifies harsher treatment. Urban insurgency is developing in the nation's capital. Americans fighting Americans in the streets of Washington.
The symbolism of what's happening to national monuments is painful. The Washington Monument is covered in graffiti. The Lincoln Memorial has been vandalized. The White House is empty and deteriorating. Windows broken, grounds unkempt. These monuments represented national unity, shared history, common values. Seeing them desecrated or neglected is a visual representation of national collapse. When the symbols of unity are destroyed, what's left to unite around? We're losing not just our government, but our national identity, our shared story, our sense of being one people.
It's 1:45 a.m. Let's talk about what's happening with American corporations because they're facing impossible decisions. Companies that operate nationally can't function when the nation is divided. Do they recognize continuity or constitutionalists as legitimate authority? Do they pay taxes to both? Neither. Do they follow regulations from both? Companies are making different decisions. Some are choosing sides. Others are trying to stay neutral by continuing operations in all territories. Others are fragmenting with regional divisions becoming independent entities aligned with local factions.
Tech companies are in particularly difficult positions. They control communications infrastructure, social media platforms, search engines, cloud services. These are how people communicate and access information. Both factions want tech companies to censor the other side, to amplify their message, to provide them user data. Tech companies are being pressured from all sides. Some are complying with whoever has physical control of their headquarters. Others are trying to maintain neutrality. It's not working. They're being accused of bias no matter what they do. Some might shut down entirely rather than be used as weapons in the conflict.
The entertainment industry is in shock. Hollywood television streaming services, they were creating content for a unified national market. That market no longer exists. Do they create different content for different factions? Do they try to create neutral content that offends no one? Do they shut down production entirely? Many productions have halted. Studios are closed. The industry employed hundreds of thousands of people who are now without work. And more broadly, the idea of shared national culture, movies and TV shows that all Americans watch, that's over. We're developing separate cultures along factional lines.
It's 2 a.m. We're 6 hours into this broadcast. Marcus, I want to address something we haven't fully discussed. The psychological and emotional toll of national collapse. People are experiencing collective trauma. Everything they knew is gone. The future is uncertain. Many are losing hope. Depression, anxiety, PTSD. These are going to be epidemics. Suicide rates are already climbing. Mental health services are overwhelmed, and there's no clear path to recovery because the trauma is ongoing. It's not a single event you survive and process. It's a continuous, deteriorating situation with no end in sight.
The grief is complicated because it's not just personal loss, though many have lost jobs, homes, security. It's also collective loss. Loss of country, loss of identity as Americans, loss of shared future. This is disenfranchised grief. Grief that society doesn't recognize or validate because society itself is collapsing. There's no national mourning process for the death of the nation. Everyone is processing this alone or in small groups. We need rituals. We need communal grieving. We need acknowledgement that something profound has been lost, but we're not getting that. We're just expected to survive and adapt.
There's also anticipatory grief, grieving for what's coming, not just what's been lost. People know this is going to get worse. They're grieving future losses before they happen. Children who will grow up in war zones, careers that will never materialize, relationships that will be destroyed by conflict, the life that could have been, it's dying before it's lived. That's a special kind of pain, and it's rational. Things will get worse. The grief is appropriate. But living in constant grief while also trying to survive is exhausting. People are breaking down under the psychological weight.
It's 2:15 a.m. Let me read a message from a mother in Missouri. She writes, I have 3 kids, 10, 7, and 4. How do I explain to them what's happening? My 10-year-old asks why America is fighting itself. I don't have an answer that makes sense. My 7-year-old is having nightmares about soldiers. My 4-year-old doesn't understand why we can't go to the store like we used to. I'm trying to maintain normalcy. Bedtime routines, family dinners, all of it. But I can hear gunfire some nights. Distant, but there. My kids hear it too. They ask what it is. I tell them it's fireworks. They don't believe me anymore. How do I parent through the apocalypse?
To that mother and all parents, there's no perfect answer. You do the best you can. You provide stability where possible. You answer questions honestly, but age appropriately. You reassure them that you'll protect them, even if you're not sure you can. You let them see you being strong, but it's also okay to let them see you being vulnerable. They know things are wrong. Hiding your emotions doesn't fool them. Let them know it's okay to be scared because you're scared too, but also show them people keep going even when scared. That's the lesson they need. Not that everything is fine. It's not. But that people endure it.
It's 2:30 a.m. Elena, we need to discuss what happens to the American nuclear arsenal because this is the most dangerous aspect of national collapse. The United States has about 5,000 nuclear weapons in various locations. Strategic bombers, land-based ICBMs, submarine-launched missiles, tactical weapons. These weapons are controlled through complex systems designed to ensure the president, and only the president, can authorize their use. But we now have competing claims to presidential authority. We have fractured chain of command. The nuclear command and control system is breaking down.
Both factions claim control of nuclear weapons. Continuity says the legitimate president still has authority. Constitutionalists say their authority supersedes the illegitimate regime. Meanwhile, the actual weapons are physically controlled by military personnel who've chosen sides or are trying to stay neutral. A missile base in North Dakota might be controlled by constitutionalist loyal troops. A submarine at sea might have a continuity-loyal captain. Neither faction has clear control of the entire arsenal. This is the most dangerous nuclear situation since the Cuban Missile Crisis, maybe more dangerous.
There are fail-safes built into the system. Nuclear weapons can't be launched by local commanders acting alone. They need authorization codes that come from the top. But those systems assume a unified chain of command. What happens when there are competing chains of command? What happens if a faction decides to seize a nuclear facility by force? What happens if someone decides to use nuclear weapons against the other faction? The probability of nuclear use, either intentional or accidental, is higher now than at any point in history. A nuclear weapon detonating on American soil is a real possibility.
International observers are watching the nuclear situation with absolute terror. The idea of an American Civil War is bad enough. The idea of an American Civil War fought with nuclear weapons is apocalyptic. Foreign governments are reaching out to both factions, pleading for restraint, offering to mediate, trying anything to prevent nuclear escalation. The UN Security Council held an emergency session specifically about American nuclear weapons. The message from the world to America is clear. Do not use nuclear weapons under any circumstances. But the world has no power to enforce that. They can only watch and pray.
It's 2:45 a.m. Let's talk about what's happening in rural America because the experience there is different from urban areas. Rural communities are more self-sufficient, less dependent on complex supply chains, more experienced with weapons and survival skills. Many rural areas are weathering the initial crisis better than cities. They have food from farms, wells for water, wood for heat. They're organized into communities that know and trust each other. In some ways, rural America is better positioned for collapse than urban America.
But rural areas face their own challenges. They're geographically isolated. If someone gets seriously sick or injured, hospitals might be hours away, and those hospitals might not be functioning. They have limited law enforcement, maybe one sheriff for an entire county. If armed groups come through, rural communities can't call for backup. They're on their own. And while they have some food production capacity, they don't have everything. No fuel refining, no pharmaceutical manufacturing, no complex equipment. They can survive in the short term, but will face shortages in the medium term.
Rural areas are also becoming battlegrounds in different ways. Control of agricultural production is strategic. Whichever faction controls the farmland controls the food supply. Both factions are trying to secure rural areas. This means military units moving through rural territory, establishing control, sometimes forcibly requisitioning food. Farmers who thought they'd be left alone are finding themselves in the middle of factional conflicts. Their crops are being seized. Their land is being fought over. Rural isolation doesn't mean rural safety. It just means different dangers.
It's 3 a.m. We're 7 hours into this broadcast. Marcus, I want to read a statement that was just released by a group calling itself the Reconciliation Movement. This is a group of former political leaders, military officers, religious figures, and others who are calling for both factions to negotiate. They say, we call on the continuity government and the Constitutional Alliance to agree to immediate ceasefire and begin negotiations. The path we're on leads to catastrophic civil war. Millions will die. The nation will be destroyed. There must be a political solution. We propose a process. Both factions agree to ceasefire. International mediators facilitate talks. A new constitutional convention addresses the underlying issues, and a new election is held under international observation. This is the path to preserving America. We beg both sides to take it.
That's a noble effort, but I'm skeptical it will work. Both factions believe they're legitimate, and the other is illegitimate. Both believe they're in the right. Both are committed to their positions. Compromise would require both sides to acknowledge partial legitimacy of the other. That seems unlikely. The continuity government would have to admit the election had problems. The constitutionalists would have to admit the Supreme Court ruling was flawed. Neither side will do that. They're too invested in their narratives. So while I appreciate the reconciliation movement's efforts, I think we're past the point of peaceful resolution.
But we have to hope, Marcus. We have to believe there's a path forward that doesn't involve years of civil war and millions dead. Maybe the reconciliation movement's proposal won't work as stated, but maybe it starts a dialogue. Maybe someone with influence on both sides can find middle ground. Maybe the reality of bloodshed will shock people into compromise. I'm not optimistic. I think you're right that we're too far gone. But I can't completely give up hope because the alternative is too dark. We have to keep trying for peace even when peace seems impossible.
It's 3:15 a.m. Elena, let me share what we're hearing about the first major military engagement between factions. It's happening right now in Kentucky, near the Tennessee border. A constitutionalist force of about 2,000 troops, combination of National Guard and organized militia, is engaging a continuity force of similar size. This is not a skirmish. This is a pitched battle with artillery, armor, air support. Early reports suggest heavy casualties on both sides. This is what civil war looks like. American soldiers killing American soldiers in massed combat.
The battle started around midnight 3 hours ago. The Constitutionalist force was advancing north from Tennessee into Kentucky, trying to secure territory. The continuity force moved to stop them. They met near a town called Franklin. The town is caught in the middle, civilians trapped while armies fight around them. Buildings are being destroyed, fires are burning, civilians are hiding in basements. This is a small American town becoming a war zone. This is what's coming for dozens, maybe hundreds of American communities. Battle lines forming, armies clashing, cities and towns destroyed as collateral damage.
Casualty estimates are preliminary, but we're hearing numbers like 200 dead, 500 wounded on both sides combined. That's 200 American soldiers dead in a single battle. The worst combat casualties America has experienced since Vietnam. And this is just the first major engagement. There will be more, larger ones. The death toll will mount. We're watching American military power, which we usually think of as being directed outward at foreign enemies, being turned inward. American weapons killing Americans, American training and tactics used against Americans. It's a perverse waste of everything the military is supposed to be.
It's 3:30 a.m. Let's talk about the economic numbers because they're staggering. Economists are estimating that the U.S. economy has contracted by 30% in the past 72 hours. 30%. To put that in perspective, the Great Depression saw a contraction of about 25% over 4 years. We've exceeded that in 3 days. Unemployment has jumped to around 25%, 40 million people without jobs. GDP is in free fall. This is economic collapse on a scale never seen in modern history. The Great Depression will look mild compared to what's coming.
The human cost of that economic collapse is profound. People can't feed their families, can't pay rent or mortgages, can't buy medicine, can't afford basic necessities. And there's no government safety net because the government is broken. There's no unemployment insurance being paid, no food stamps, no emergency aid. People are on their own. Churches and charities are trying to help, but they're overwhelmed. We're going to see homelessness on a massive scale. Hunger, disease, deaths of despair. The social fabric is shredding.
The wealthy are fleeing the country. Private jets leaving for Europe, for South America, for anywhere stable. Those who can afford to evacuate are evacuating. They're taking their money with them. Billions of dollars flowing out of America to foreign banks. The capital flight is accelerating the economic collapse. The wealthy class that could potentially help fund recovery is abandoning the nation. They're saving themselves and their fortunes. American billionaires becoming European or South American or Asian billionaires, taking their wealth but abandoning their country.
It's 3:45 a.m. Let me read a message from someone in New York City. They write, "Manhattan is emptying. I live in Midtown and I can see it happening. Buildings that were full a week ago are now empty. Stores are closed. Restaurants are closed. Streets that used to be packed with people are nearly empty. The city is dying. People are leaving if they can afford to. Those who can't afford to leave are hunkering down. The energy of the city, that buzz that made New York feel alive, it's gone. This is a ghost city now. I never thought I'd see New York dead, but that's what's happening. The city is dying."
New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, the great American cities are experiencing the same thing. Population flight, economic collapse, service breakdown. These cities were built on the assumption of national connectivity, of being nodes in a national network. When the network breaks, the nodes die. Cities can't function in isolation. They depend on food being brought in, on goods flowing through, on people coming for business and tourism. All of that has stopped. The great American cities are becoming irrelevant. Population and economic activity will shift to smaller communities that can be more self-sufficient.
It's 4 a.m. We're 8 hours into this broadcast. Elena, the sky will start lightening in a few hours. Dawn on day 4 of the crisis. What does daylight reveal? Armies in battle, cities abandoned, government collapsed, supply chains severed, millions displaced, economy destroyed, infrastructure failing, nuclear weapons unsecured, foreign powers circling. This is America at 4 a.m. on day 4 of national collapse. By day 7, by day 14, how much worse will it be? The trajectory is clear. We're spiraling downward. The question is whether we hit bottom or whether there is no bottom, just endless falling.
I keep thinking about historical parallels. Yugoslavia in the 1990s, a multi-ethnic state that collapsed into ethnic civil war. The Soviet Union in 1991, a superpower that fragmented into separate nations. The Roman Empire in the 5th century, seemingly eternal until suddenly it wasn't. All of these seemed impossible until they happened. America seemed eternal. The idea that the United States could collapse, could cease to exist, it was unthinkable. But the unthinkable is happening. We're living through the collapse of the American empire. Future historians, if there are future historians, will study this. We're the generation that lost America.
But perhaps something better could emerge from the ruins. The original United States was built from the collapse of the British colonial system. Maybe something better, or at least different, can be built from the collapse of the United States. Maybe the successor states will be more responsive to their populations, more democratic, more just. Maybe smaller nations will govern better than one large nation. Maybe the suffering we're experiencing now is the birth pang of something better. I don't really believe that. I think we're just experiencing decline without any redemptive meaning. But I want to believe it. I want to believe this suffering serves some purpose.
It's 4:15 a.m. Marcus, we're receiving reports of a major development. There's been a nuclear incident at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. Details are fragmentary and possibly unreliable, but reports suggest an unauthorized launch authorization was issued. Whether a weapon was actually launched is unclear. Communications from the base have been cut, either deliberately or due to attack. The base is in constitutionalist-controlled territory, but there are continuity loyalists on the base who may have sabotaged something. This is the nightmare scenario, a nuclear weapons facility in chaos during civil war. If a weapon was launched, we'll know soon. If not, this was a close call.
I want to be very clear. We don't know if a nuclear weapon has been launched. We're hearing rumors and fragmentary reports. It's possible this is misinformation. It's possible something else happened at the base. But the fact that we're even discussing the possibility of unauthorized nuclear launch from an American base is terrifying. This is how nuclear war starts. Not through calculated decision by rational leaders, but through chaos, miscommunication, unauthorized actions during crisis. Both factions need to secure their nuclear weapons immediately. This is more important than any territorial dispute or political argument.
The international community will react strongly to this. If there's even a hint that American nuclear weapons are being used or are at risk of unauthorized use, foreign powers may intervene militarily. China and Russia have both indicated they would consider military action to secure American nuclear weapons if they believed those weapons were at risk of terrorist acquisition or unauthorized use. An intervention to secure American nuclear weapons would be an invasion of American soil by foreign powers. That could unite American factions against a common enemy, or it could make everything worse by adding foreign powers to an already complex civil war.
It's 4:30 a.m. Let me share an update on the battle in Kentucky because it's concluded, or at least this phase has concluded. The Constitutionalist force was pushed back. The Continuity force held the line. Casualty numbers are being revised upward, possibly 300 dead, over 1,000 wounded. The town of Franklin is devastated. Dozens of civilian casualties, buildings destroyed, infrastructure wrecked. The Constitutionalist force retreated back toward Tennessee. The Continuity force is claiming victory, but Pyrrhic victory at best. They held ground but took massive casualties. Neither side can sustain losses at this rate for long.
The battle reveals something important about how this war will be fought. Neither side has overwhelming advantage. The military forces are roughly equivalent in capability because they're both American military, same training, same equipment, same doctrine. This means engagements will be costly for both sides. There won't be quick, decisive victories. It will be grinding attrition. Whichever side can sustain losses longer will eventually win, but both sides will bleed enormously in the process. This is the worst kind of war, the kind where both sides are so evenly matched that it drags on for years with enormous casualties.
It's 4:45 a.m. Elena, I want to address something we've been implying but not stating directly. The United States of America is over. It's finished. It's not coming back. Even if one faction wins completely, even if the country is reunified under one government, it won't be the United States as we knew it. Too much has been broken. Too much trust has been lost. Too much blood has been spilled. The America that existed a week ago with its Constitution, its institutions, its shared identity, that's dead. We're in the aftermath now. We're living in the post-American period. Whatever comes next, it's not America.
That's a profound statement, and I think you're right. The America we knew is gone. The question is what replaces it. Multiple successor states seems most likely the Pacific Coalition becoming an independent nation or confederation, the Constitutional Alliance becoming another, maybe a Midwest Republic, maybe a Northeast Union. These would be new countries with new constitutions, new governments, new identities. They might maintain some connection to American history and values, but they'd be fundamentally different entities. Or maybe one faction conquers the others and imposes unity by force. That would be America in name, but would be a military dictatorship, not the democratic republic we had.
There's also the possibility of complete fragmentation, not just 3 or 4 successor states, but dozens, every state going its own way, or regions within states becoming independent. The United States breaking into 50 pieces or more. That would be the worst outcome. Too small to be viable as independent states, too numerous to form a stable order, constant conflict between many states, economic collapse because none would be large enough to sustain modern economy. That's the dark scenario, not civil war between 2 factions that eventually resolves, but permanent fragmentation into chaos. I hope we avoid that, but it's possible.
It's 5 a.m. We're 9 hours into this broadcast, Marcus. The horizon is starting to lighten. We can see the dawn approaching. Day 4 begins. The sun rises on a nation that no longer exists as it was. What happens today? More battles, more people displaced, more economic collapse, more suffering, and tomorrow will be worse. And the day after, worse still. We're on a downward trajectory with no bottom in sight. The only question is how low we go before something, exhaustion, outside intervention, miraculous reconciliation, stops the fall. For now, we keep falling.
To everyone listening, you've been with us for 9 hours. You've stayed up through the night, monitoring the situation, trying to understand what's happening. That shows strength. That shows engagement. Don't lose that. Stay informed. Stay connected. But also take care of yourselves. Rest when you can. Eat. Drink water. Maintain your health because the crisis will continue and you need to be functional. We'll continue broadcasting. We'll be here through the day, through tomorrow, as long as we can keep the station running. You're not alone. We're here. Millions are listening. We're a community bound by shared experience of national collapse.
It's 5:15 a.m. Let me end this section with a thought. Nations are not eternal. Empires rise and fall. No political system lasts forever. America had a good run, nearly 250 years as a unified nation. That's longer than most empires. The fact that it's ending doesn't mean it was meaningless. The ideals America represented, democracy, liberty, equality, opportunity, those ideals don't die with the nation. Those ideals can be carried forward into whatever comes next. The American story might be ending, but the human story continues. We carry forward what was good and try to build something better from the ruins. That's all we can do. That's what humans have always done.
This is Marcus Reed and Elena Shaw. We'll continue broadcasting throughout the day. Stay with us, stay informed, stay safe, and stay human. Whatever comes, we face it together.